Sal Showtime. Thanks for your support.
Peace. What's up, B? How you doing? I cannot hear you, bro, man. You might need to come back out and come back here. So peace. What it is your brother Tyvon Swain-El a.k.a. the Orthodox Moor. While we are waiting for the good brother BA to get his connection together, his Yeah, his audio is not working correctly. This may be the first time that a that a that a host gives themselves a hot seat here on Debate Talk for You. We can do that if that needs to be the case. I can definitely rock out for like a half hour. We got this. We got the link pinned in the description, and we have it not in the description. We have it in the chat, so we can definitely make this happen. As a matter of fact, I'm just gonna start doing that, just so we don't have any dead air. Shout out to Sal Showtime for giving us a platform to do these hot seats and have these discussions, etc. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to all the Debates Off You family, etc. Without further ado, I guess I'm going to step into the hot seat. So, like I said, for sake of no dead air, I'm just gonna, I guess, rant for about a half hour, give y'all a good background on who Tyvon Swain-El is, a.k.a. the Orthodox Moor. Give you a bit of background on myself, open these lines up, and I will be taking all questions. I will not be ducking any question. As per what's typical on the format, we typically have people, we give them like 10 minutes to ask their questions, etc. And when you're done with your 10 minutes, feel free to jump back in line for another round of questions and whatnot. We got Brother BA in the building again. Let's see if his mic is working properly this time. Shabbat Shalom, what's good? Nope, I can't hear nothing. I can see your mouth moving. I can't hear nothing. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear him, and if it's just me not being able to hear. So I see Micah Paul. I see Mr. Blacktastic. If y'all can hear BA, let me know if y'all can hear BA. So you're definitely not on mute. Oh, I got a 1 and a 2. So somebody can hear you, somebody can't hear you. That's hilarious. Why don't you check this out? Micah said 1. Blacktastic said 2. Okay, we got 2 2s. Okay. So that's a negative. We can't hear you, BA. So, all right. So, can you try coming through your phone? Or are you on your phone now? Oh, snap. All right. What's up with the laptop? Or you got a laptop or no? Negative. Interesting. Okay. So my man's gonna jump out. In the meantime, I'm going to get back into roasting myself right quick. We finna do it like that. Yeah, Micah said he can't. Okay, no, that's 3 can't. Okay, that's all 3 can hear BA. Okay. So, all right, fam. Our apologies with this. You know what I'm saying? Some technical difficulties in the building going on right now. So what we'll do is, like I said, I will just hot seat myself. And so the format is like I said, typically we give 10 minutes per person. And so when you're done with your 10 minutes, feel free to jump back in line for another round or whatnot. Like I said, I will be answering all questions. I assume that with enough time, enough people showing up, there's going to be a lot of questions because for a lot of years, there's been a lot of questions. Well, what does the Orthodox Moor believe on this? What does he believe on that? What does he believe on this? What does he believe on that? So I'm going to try to do my best to get into all of it and not dodge nothing and whatnot. So the only thing we do ask is that there is no cussing. There's no swearing. I personally don't mind if y'all ad hominem me or whatnot. Just if we get into a dialogue, please do try to deal with the actual arguments being spoken of. And so with that, just in case you couldn't hear the disclaimer from before, The views and opinions of the people that come on the panel do not reflect those the views and opinions of South Showtime and Debate Talk for You. The views of the panelists and the views of the host are not the opinions and views of the channel. So with that being said, let's get it. If you want to know about me, you got to know where I come from. You got to know my peoples, and understand how that shaped my belief system, etc. So first and foremost, my name is Tyvon Swain-El. My L is a spiritual name. My name on paper is Tyvon Swain. That is my given name. That is my government name. That is the name my father gave me. Speaking of my father, I am the proud son of my father. Proud son of my father. Who descends from the Swain family of the American Southeast. I'm going to say things like American Southeast and American Southwest and that because I have viewers from all over the world that watch me and don't necessarily know where in America certain states are, etc. But I'll get into the specifics of all that. So my father comes from the American Southeast, specifically from Alabama. His people descend from Alabama, Georgia, Maryland, the Carolinas, etc. He descends from a freshwater Geechee culture, a very beautiful culture when you get into it, and a culture I've been blessed to learn about in the past few years. He grew up a Baptist, and then eventually moved from the South and came to the Pacific Northwest after having spent time in the military. He endured some heavy racism in the South that he was not trying to continue to endure. He got into an altercation with a police officer to where he almost killed the police officer. Having gotten out of that situation, he decided to look for a better life, like I said, in the Pacific Northwest. After moving here, he branched off into the evangelical version of Christianity, etc. Stayed there for a little bit and then oscillated back and forth in between the Black church, the evangelical church. Eventually branching off and doing his own thing via a small home ministry he called Healing Heart Ministry. Because he felt like the church, the modern church, wasn't doing enough, no matter what side you were on, Baptist, evangelical, Catholic, whatever. He felt like the modern church wasn't doing enough to meet people where they were at and to heal the wounds that people were walking to church with. He felt like people were getting preached at and not talked to. He felt like there was a lot of wounds that were just being left open. And that if the church wasn't going to fix that, what's the point, right? My father had a very heavy leaning on the template of David in this sense. He focused heavily on David, pointing me towards David all the time. And the concept where like you can look at the story of David and you can see how people can reach the highest highs and the lowest lows and whatnot, and still find the redemption of the Most High. He was somebody. He was a very interesting individual in the sense to where he was very proud about where he came from. He was very proud about his ethnicity, but he wasn't a racist individual. A lot of people where he came from were very racist, and he had a lot of reasons to be racist. Let's see. I see BA trying to come in one more time.
Yo, what's the word?
Hey, I hear you this time, bro. What's good?
That's what's up, man. That's what's up, bro. Well, I'm good, bro. What's up with you, bro? What's the word?
Man, doing my own hot seat. What's good with you?
Man, having these technical difficulties with these devices and this internet, this stuff it's a pain in you know what. But all praise to the Most High that I was able to make it. But continue, brother, explaining. I know you were talking, you were building with the audience. Go ahead and finish up your point.
Let me do my little rant right quick, and then give me a few minutes real quick, do a little rant, and then you can definitely spice it up with and turn the heat up a little bit. So yeah, I was talking about my father and whatnot, and my father, like I said, he had a very interesting belief system in the sense to where, like, he would actually pull me aside and point to me in the scrolls and be like, yeah, I feel like we are the people of Cush and the people of Sheba. And he would tell me things like he felt like it was our responsibility to lead the world in praise to the Most High and whatnot. And he felt like our people were falling off because we weren't doing that. I thought that was very interesting and whatnot. But he never had like a supremacy concept ever. Not like I respected that a lot about my father, being the fact that he actually experienced a lot of racism growing up. And so he was somebody who he was a project manager for Boeing and whatnot. And towards the end of his career, he was able to specialize in diversity, which is one of his big deals. Something that was very important to him, or something he instilled into me. He was big about. He was also a coach and whatnot in athletics, and again he would coach boys, he would coach girls and whatnot. He wasn't particularly that way. He liked coaching. He liked dealing with people and developing people and whatnot. And in terms of how we linked that with diversity, he liked to have people's backgrounds understood and respected in a corporate sense, so people could be understood in the workplace and whatnot. And he would do things like bring me as a teenager to corporate gigs or whatnot, to where they're having diversity conferences or whatnot. And because I'm multi-ethnic myself, so I grew up being told I was Black, Spanish, Navajo, Indian, and Scotch Irish or whatnot. Turned out to be a lot more as I found out growing up. But he brought me to a lot of stuff like that to use me as an example of why people need to understand diversity and whatnot. And that was something that affected me quite a bit growing up. And so understanding people's backgrounds, things like that is a very big deal for me. On top of that, you got to know where my mom comes from, right? Like, she comes from the American Southwest, right? She comes from a ranchero culture, from a northern New Mexico, southern Colorado, etc. Grew up on a 5,000-acre cattle ranch and whatnot. I always tell people my mom's tougher than your dad, straight up and down. Straight up and down. And so she came up in a very interesting place. The descendant of crypto Jews that grew up in a very Catholic culture, that was also infused with a lot of Native American aspects with it. She also moved to the Pacific Northwest and met my father. They both embraced the evangelical Christianity together. They both walked away from the same churches, etc. She eventually got into the fact that she was a crypto Jew, and eventually embraced a form of like Messianic Judaism, etc. I'll leave right there for right now. Let's go with you, BA.
Man, I'm official like a ref with a whistle. Doing cool, and thank you for coming on, man. Because I've gotten to know you over the last couple of years. You've always been a good brother with me, and we're glad to have you on the Debate Talk for You family, one of the most respected platforms on the internet. Anything else, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So I don't know if you got a chance to explain what led you to the Moorish temple, but if you have not, could you please explain and clarify what led you to it, and can you clarify the significance of the Moorish doctrine, the Moorish temple doctrine, if you don't mind?
So sure, I'll explain what led me into it, and technically what led me out of it, because I'm not a member of the Moorish Council of America.
Okay.
Although I do consider myself an adherent to many of the belief structures and follower Noble Drew Ali, etc. However, like, again, I keep it technical because I'm not officially a member of the temple, so I try to keep it clear and respectful in the sense to where people don't get me confused with the actual temple itself. But I'm going to get into the weeds here right here. So you're basically asking me for my whole like religious background and like how I got in that kind of stuff, and so we're gonna get into that whole little walk. So, because you got to know all that to understand how I got to the Morris thing, right? So again, I grew up, like I was talking about, I give my background, my parents or whatnot. At a young age, my parents put me into a private school, a Christian private school. Spent a little time on TBN. The pastor there was Pastor Casey Treat. You might hear Alizar and them talk about them from Sakari and whatnot, because Alizar's from the same state as me, same area as me, etc. I went to that private school. Again, it was an evangelical private school. That was the foundation of my belief. I got a mixture of Catholicism from my mom's family and a mixture of Baptist beliefs from my father's family as well. By the time I was like 12, 13, I was not vibing it at all. I was not vibing what I was seeing people. I was reading the book. My mom was heavy into having me read Proverbs like every day. My father was heavy into having me read the Psalms or whatnot because of David or whatnot. I was heavy into reading everything in red letters because I figured like if Jesus said it, it's probably the most important thing in the book or whatnot, right? After a long time of just reading them books or whatnot, I was like, you know what? It seems like the people in the churches aren't really following what's in these books here that I'm reading and whatnot. It doesn't make sense. I see a lot of hypocrisy. Same thing a lot of people go through. I went through it like 11, 12, 13. By the time I hit 14, I told my father that that I didn't believe in God anymore. And I thought I was an atheist. In reality, I was an agnostic person. I still believed in the creator, in the deity of some sort of higher power. I just didn't believe in the way people were describing this deity as an external force. You know what I'm saying? Sitting on a cloud, watching things happen and whatnot, for his own amusement and whatnot. I didn't. The structure I was given, I didn't buy. It didn't match the text or whatnot. And my pops, he gave me the coldest. Like I had never ran into an Israelite in my life before this, right? Like, it's cold. Like my pops, like I swear, like so. My pops is a dude who got circumcised in his early 20s and whatnot, right? He's a raw dude, right? He voluntarily did that. And I swear, like when I found that out and I heard this, I was like, you might be like, I told him he might be on some Jewish stuff because I told him like I didn't believe in God anymore. And he was like, you know what? If he was a few hundred years ago, bro, you would have got stoned for that. It was the first time I heard the brick shower doctrine was from my pops. I was like, wow, that's some cool stuff right there. But it was real. I didn't vibe the way I was hearing about this external force to where you're separate from God or whatnot. And so that's me at 14. At 16, I'm telling my mom that I'm going to study every religion out there and find out what's common amongst the religions and try to bring that to the world and help people get on the same page about their own religions and see what they have in common versus bicker and fight about them all the time or whatnot. Because either their religions are based on something that's true or they're based on something that's false. And if there's anything true about them, it's universal. And I can show you that amongst all the traditions and whatnot. That was me at 16 and whatnot. By 18, 19, I was deep heavy into Taoism, Buddhism, and cool with it, like straight with it. Still read my Bible. Never stopped reading my Bible ever. My mom was someone who worked in the service industry and whatnot. And she had a Sri Lankan friend who was a Muslim dude, the first Muslim I ever met in my life. Beautiful Muslim brother named Muhammad and whatnot. Like literally one of the most righteous people I've ever met in my life. Like between like him and my grandmother, I would say like the most quote unquote Christ-like people I ever met. You know what I'm saying? He heard me talking about like being intrigued about the different religions, etc., whatnot. And he gave me a English version of the Quran, the Yusuf Ali version, and told me to give it a read when I had a chance. Now, ironically, via just cultural upbringing in America, whatnot, I had just a sour taste in my mouth about the Quran. I didn't understand why. I just assumed I was going to read all kind of stuff about pedophilia, etc. on the Quran or whatnot, right? And so I just left it on my shelf for like a good 14, 15 years or whatnot when he gave me the Quran one. It was sitting there collecting dust for the longest and whatnot. But like I said, I was good on my Taoist Buddhism kick for a long time. And like I said, loving life, super peaceful with it. I had no issues with my belief structure at all. There was no questioning what I was fine. Very, very functional, very, very cool. But then I'm kicking with my homies in my early 20s, and I see a movie called What the Bleep Do We Know, which is a movie about quantum physics and whatnot. And the movie sparks an inner spark within me in terms of my spirituality when it's where I finally start to understand this eternal God that I was mishearing growing up. Like I'm recognizing when watching this movie, like, oh, okay, the people I'm listening to growing up don't really have a deep grasp on what they're reading and whatnot. And it was interesting because as I'm watching this movie, I'm listening to a lot of scientists who were atheists who encountered quantum physics, and it made them encounter spirituality again. And so I went through the very same thing, and it made me go back more into into the Bible and reading more text and whatnot. And it got me more into wanting to understand other people's belief structures and do the same thing I was talking about when I was 16 and whatnot. And so in doing so, I got into the conscious community beliefs, trying to understand different people's belief systems, like the Nation of Islam, 5%ers, the Kemetic belief system, Israelite traditions, all that type of stuff, right? And amongst and trying to understand the validity of each tradition, where they could go off, etc., whatnot. And amongst them was the Moorish tradition and whatnot. And what was interesting is, like, so for me, one thing I kept doing, I kept trying to like prove things wrong. Like if I found something like false in the tradition, I knew it wasn't like the true tradition. Not like I was looking for the true tradition or whatnot, but it was the concept of like I could tell there was more to be had or whatnot, right? And so what I found interesting about the Moorish literature is like every time I try to prove something wrong within the literature, I couldn't do it. And I was I actually got irritated. I spent quite some time. I spent like a good year and change, maybe a couple years, trying to disprove the Moorish literature. I think by the second year, I was pretty sure the second year of me trying to prove it wrong, I couldn't do it. And I finally tapped out, and I was like, well, you know what? If I can't prove this wrong, it's saying to read the Quran or whatnot, right? And so at that juncture, I cracked the Quran. And so that began a whole nother journey in the sense to where I spent another year, like it was 3 years in total between the Circle 7 and the Quran that I tried to prove them both wrong, and I couldn't do it. And so that left me with an interesting set of questions to ask myself. And so I sat back and was looking at my different traditions that I come from. And I was trying to make sense of all of it. And something that was interesting to me is a lot of people of African descent in this country try to understand their history and where they come from and cultures, etc., whatnot. I've been doing the same thing since I was a kid, studying slavery, studying stuff prior to slavery, post-slavery. I was going on all kinds of extracurricular field trips. I was going to read every book I could get my hands on, watching all kinds of movies. I was obsessed with the concept. Like I wanted to know where I came from on all sides. Didn't matter if the Irish side, didn't matter if it was the Native American side, the African. I was trying to study everything I could and whatnot. And I got I was curious about this Moorish nationality that they talked about in the temple and whatnot, and in the literature and whatnot, because I hadn't been to the temple yet. And I started studying more and more about the Moorish history and whatnot. And it was interesting because it coincided with my crypto Jewish history and whatnot, because my mother's side of the family, they are from New Mexico via Spain and North Africa. And so the type of crypto Jewish that they came from was a Sephardic / Maghrebi Jewish background. They were Maghrebi before, i.e. Northwest Africa, North and Northwest Africa before they went to Spain and whatnot. My mom prefers to say Maghrebi. She does not identify as Sephardic and whatnot. It's a slightly different belief structure. But something I found all my lineages corresponding and correlating in Moorish Spain, from Native American to the European and Gaelic side to the African side, to the Jewish side, Latin side, all that. And for me, it was interesting because it finally erased the question mark. And a lot of people know what I'm talking about in the sense where like there's this question mark you got in terms of like where do I come from? Where do I fit in this whole thing or whatnot? And so I was able to look at a historical set of culture, cultural practices, belief systems, all kind of stuff from Islam to Judaism to Christianity and whatnot, and get a lot of questions answered in terms of what my background and lineage was, etc. And so checking out that history, checking out the literature, whatnot. Dealing with this concept of nationality was something that was very, very, very intriguing and important to me. It's something that popped out in the Moorish literature when you read it. Because I'm very big in this sense of this concept of like righteous nationalism. That's something that I got from reading the red letter aspect of the Bible in terms of what Jesus was talking about, right? And as a kid growing up, like, so I'm 40 years old and whatnot, right? And so I'm from the time period to where like the Million Man March was popping off and whatnot. I'm from the time period to where there was like a resurgence in the Y. I'm from the time period to where nationalism was always spoken of in a negative connotation. And to me, I could understand it if racism and supremacy was attached to it, but I couldn't understand it if it wasn't racist and if it wasn't supremacist, right? In the sense where I couldn't understand people talking about nationalism in a negative way. And to me, looking at my community and whatnot, it seemed like nationalism was something that was necessary, right? But a righteous form was something that was also necessary. And to me, that was something that the Bible taught. I consistently saw a structure to where you take care of your nation and you take care of other nations afterwards or whatnot, and take care of those that can't take care of themselves or whatnot. And for me, I've always had the concept of if everybody does that, if every nation takes care of themselves and then the one next to them or whatnot, everyone's good at whatnot. Everyone's taken care of, etc. And so when I read the Moorish literature, that was the exact message in the literature. And I was like, wow, that beautiful, perfect. On top of that, there was aspects of the literature that I thought illuminated. Let me say it like this: there were things that I agreed with in literature that I had hunches about when I was reading the Bible and other scriptures and whatnot, and I would check them out in other languages like Hebrew, Aramaic, and such whatnot. I could see certain things coming out in the Moorish literature that was coming out in my studies. For instance, like the name Allah. Like I noticed that there was like the name Allah in Hebrew if I was able to look at it or whatnot, right? Little things like that. Aspects of how they describe certain parts of the New Testament, because a lot of people don't know that the Moorish literature is heavily focused on the story of Christ, and they teach it as the 18 missing years of Christ, etc. Whatnot.
Yeah, that's interesting. You brought that up. That's the Circle 7.
Yes, sir.
And one thing about the Circle 7, I've had the liberty to read it. I've read through it quite a few times. And one thing I noticed, the opening message, it talks about that the teachings within this book is dedicated to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the very first time that I've read anything from an Islamic source to give credence and credit to Christ, you know what I'm saying, to his teachings. You know what I'm saying? So I found that very interesting, very interesting. So what is and I didn't mean to cut you off, brother. I just wanted to.
No, cut me whenever you need. It's the hot seat. Cut me whenever you need to, bro. What you talking about?
Nah, but we brothers, man. You know what I'm saying? I definitely appreciate you. And one thing about the Circle 7, the writings of Drew Ali, he really, really gives credit, and he really, really hangs heavy on Yeshua or Jesus.
Facts, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of people may not be aware. For those who are not familiar with the Circle 7, it's the writings of Drew Ali, who is the author of the text. It's a very interesting text for those who are willing to tap into it. I just read it for knowledgeable purposes, just to be aware. But one thing about it is very pro-Christ, very pro-Christ. And but one thing about it, Drew Ali, why do you think that he causes so much controversy?
Well, quick. I won't say correction, but just a small addition. So he wouldn't necessarily say that that he wrote the text in the literature. He would say that it was information delivered from Muslims from India, Egypt, and Palestine, etc.
that's because it even says that in the text as well. My
Yeah.
apologies.
No, oh no, you're bro. Ain't nothing you got to apologize for. What you talking about? You straight. And one thing I do want to add just before I jump into that part there, like, so here's one thing that's controversial, right? Like, so, man, this is something that caused beef between me and Target Bay at one point in time. Was the was the fact, like, so the text is the only, so the Moor Science Temple is the only Islamic sect in the world that embraces the death of Jesus upon the cross. I'll say that one more time. They're the only Islamic sect in the entirety of the world that 100% embraces the death of Jesus on the cross in their literature. That's one thing that's controversial, right? Another thing that's controversial, like, so let me ask you a quick clarification question. Controversial to who? Because he's controversial to a bunch of different people for a bunch of different reasons.
Well, I would say because there's various different sects of Islam.
Yeah.
So you have some individuals who recognize Muhammad. No, I mean, I'm just giving you based on my experience, just because I may have experienced certain. No, go ahead, brother. So say it again.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. I got you.
Yeah, so because there are some brothers and sisters who I've met over the years, when it comes to Drew Ali, they consider him a false prophet.
Mm-hmm.
They consider the Circle 7 to be a false book. It doesn't represent the Islamic belief. You know what I'm saying? Because some have even said that he believed in Jesus, the Son of God, and all this and all that, and so I've heard it through the years. You know what I'm saying? So that's what led me to go get the text myself and to actually read why the Drew Ali is considered to be very controversial amongst various different sects of those who subscribe to Islam.
Yeah, now that you're talking Islam, I can definitely like specifically get into that one 100% easier. So, so Jesus is the Son of God in the text. He died. He dies on the cross in the text. All that type of stuff, right? Now, for most Orthodox Muslims, and this is where I call myself the Orthodox Moor, it's because most people who call themselves Orthodox, they assume they're Orthodox but cannot prove their orthodoxy, right? And so most Orthodox Muslims will say, well, you can't be a Muslim if you believe in a prophet after Muhammad. Muhammad is the last and final messenger, etc. And I'll say, fine, just do me a favor and show me that anywhere in the text. And then they'll show me a Quran verse that says, see here, it says that he is the Wahatim min Nabiyin. And I'm like, cool. What does that mean? And what does that translate to? Well, it means the last and final messenger. I'm like, well, it can't mean last and final because the word you just showed me is a noun, not a verb. The verb form means last and final. Got you. The noun form means seal, signet, sign. You know what I'm saying? So it's a person, place, or a thing and whatnot. It can't be the last. And on top of that, I'll go in the scrolls and show them in the Quran. I'll show them a conversation between Allah and Jesus on the day of judgment or whatnot, right? And I'm like, he can't be the last prophet to come. If Jesus still has a message to give in the Quran, not possible. On top of that, I'll go into different scrolls to talk about the fact that so in the Moor Science Temple literature, there's claims to Moabite lineages, etc., etc., etc. In Moorish empires, etc., being set up by the Moabites and whatnot. And so in the Quran, there's clear distinctions and clear literature in verses that speak about the lineage of prophets and whatnot, coming from Adam down to Noah, down to Abraham. And then even that the family of Lot was going to get prophethood with scripture, like with a book and whatnot, right? So I'll clearly ask the Muslims, so where's the literature from Lot's family? Can you show me the scripture from the prophet of Lot's family? Or if you can't, then you have to explain to me why the Moorish literature doesn't apply. Because also it literally in the Quran it specifies the fact that every nation will be sent a messenger speaking their own language. At that juncture, I say, who came to America teaching us Islam in English? Oh, wait, because you can't show me that prophet. You know what I'm saying? All them kind of things. He's controversial because he goes against the orthodoxy of Islam. At the same point in time, he doesn't go against the orthodoxy of the Quran, or he doesn't go against the orthodoxy of the Bible. And that's another thing he says, right? Like, so something that he's controversial with in terms of the world of Islam is he says to unite the Bible and the Quran, right? Most Muslims would be like, well, no, you can't use the Bible because the Bible's corrupt. No. Noble Drew Ali never made the claim that the Bible's corrupt, nor does the Quran make the claim that the Bible's corrupt. The Quran actually says the same thing Noble Drew Ali talks about, right? In the sense to where, like, as a believer, you have nothing. If you're a Muslim, you have nothing unless you stand on the Torah and the Gospels, etc. You got nothing unless you stand on that, right? And so when you go into this, this is the issue. And this is even the bigger issue, right? Is he brought a non-hadithist form of Islam? Whether you're Sunni, whether you're Shia, you have your own books of hadith. The Shia have four major books of hadith. The Sunni have 6 major books of hadith. These are supposed sayings of the Prophet that they used to interpret the Quran with, etc. Right? And when you add them up, there are hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of sayings or whatnot that got whittled down to a few thousand sayings or whatnot on both sides, and they heavily affect the tradition of Sunnism and Shiism and whatnot, right? However, Noble Drew Ali, he did not bring that tradition. He brought a Quranist form of Islam in the sense to where you only use the literature, etc. And so when you do what the Quran says you don't use anything other than the scripture of God as is hadith and whatnot. And so if you have any, it says in 3 different spots, if you have any doubts as to what's coming down to you, or if you don't know what's coming down, etc., you go to the previous scripture or the previous reminder. And so that's something that's emphasized in the Circle 7, is that you unite the scriptures and whatnot. You unite the Quran of Mecca and the Bible, etc. That's multiple things that are controversial in the world of Islam.
Most deaf, man. And another thing about the Circle 7, you know what I'm saying? You even said it. I think once before you shared with me that you believe that Christ died and resurrected. Or maybe you believe that, right?
Yes, sir. And that's also in the Circle 7.
Most definitely it is. So my thing is this: why is it that in the Circle 7 is there, and why is it that in other sources, the other Quran and various other Islamic beliefs, that Christ did not die?
See, that is a perspective that comes from the Hadithist form of Islam, where they inject things into the translations that are not there in Arabic. In the Arabic of the Quran, Jesus dies on the cross. In multiple places, it specifies the concept of blessed be the day that he's born, the day he will die, and the day he will be raised alive and whatnot. There's parts where God talks about that he's going to take him in death. There's this particular word in Arabic, mutawafika, which it kills it. It's a wrap. It means to take in death. And this is how what it's described as happening to Jesus and whatnot. And so the infamous Quran verse says this: there will be those who claim that they killed Jesus, the son of Mary, the messenger of Allah, but they did not kill him, nor did they crucify him. It was made to appear so. And then it goes on to describe the manner of death, right? So it's, again, the claim is there's going to be people who said they killed him, but they did not kill him. It was made to look like it, right? And so this is where a lot of people interject, God put someone else on the cross to make it look like it was Jesus, and it wasn't. No, it doesn't say anything like that in the text whatsoever. It says directly what it says, that the people who are claiming to kill him did not kill him, but it's going to look as if they did, right? So it says neither did they kill him nor did they crucify him, but Allah raised him to himself. This is the manner of death that's spoken of in the Quran. So in the Quran, it says multiple times that Allah will take him, Allah will take him, Allah will take him. Take him in death, take him in death, take him in death. And then it specifies on the cross that he raised him to himself, and that was the manner of death, right? Just like we see in the Bible where it says, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit, and thus gave up the ghost. Same.
Now that's interesting, man. That's, you know what I'm saying? Because I've been hearing it for years. And since we have that in the Quran, why do you, like you said, the hadiths, they try to find things that try to force things that are not there. So that sounds like that's the case, according to what you just explained.
That would be my perception. Yeah, they try. And this is something that's actually said in the Quran itself. A lot of people talk about like, well, there's no prophecies in the Quran. Like one of my favorite prophecies in the Quran is this: that there will be those who use idle hadith, who use baseless hadith, is what it says in the translation, to lead those away from the path of God for an amusement. So again, the Quran makes two specifications. It says the scriptures of God are his hadith, are his narrations, right? And this includes the Torah, the gospel, the Quran, all that, right? If it's not the scripture, it's not the hadith. And then it goes on to make the prophetic claim that there will be those who use baseless hadith to lead those away from the path of God for an amusement. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. People, again, the hadith that people have, whether you're Sunni or Shia, etc., it's based off of a game of telephone. You cannot prove anywhere that the prophet said any of these things. It's just based upon an assumption and whatnot. Someone said. Game of again, baseless hadith. So if you take those over the previous scripture, so again, the Quran says this: if you have any doubt or any question, I gotta reconcile it with the previous scripture. So the question is like, so okay, bro, like, so okay, you're saying that he didn't die on the cross in the Quran. Well, let's go to the previous scriptures and reconcile the joint right quick. If we do that, again, if we follow the methodology of the Quran, what the Quran says to do, you can't. It's impossible to come up with the arguments that they're coming up with. It's impossible. You have to insert the hadith over the previous scripture, and the Quran says you're not allowed to do so.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So, since we're talking about Christ, we know in a lot of Christian circles or within a lot of Christian sects, and even with certain Israelite sects, there is a belief that Christ is divine, or they say the deity of Christ. So what is your personal stance on that?
My personal stance is that he is Elohim in the flesh and says so all over the place. However, I do not believe he is the Father in the flesh. And when put to him, he makes the clear indication that he is not such. When you go into the book of John or whatnot, he does not claim to be the words that are associated with the Father. He claims to be Elohim, the pluralistic forms of God, etc. And forms that also equate to forms that we can be, like in terms of the concept of where he talks about ye are Elohim and children of the Most High, etc. He never claims to be the Most High, but he claims to be Elohim. So I definitely purport him to be Elohim in the flesh, but I cannot claim him to be to be Eloach in the flesh.
Okay. So where it says in John chapter 1, it says, and I think it's somewhere around maybe 14, 15 to 16. And it says, and the word became flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Would you also agree with that?
100%.
Okay, that's very unique. That is a very unique belief, because a lot of individuals who subscribe to Islam reject that, and a lot of them would say, "See, the Bible's corrupted. You can't trust it because of that reason and various other reasons they believe it to be corrupt." But for you, that is a very unique view. You know what I'm saying? So my thing overall is, what brought you to that conclusion, which various Muslims do not have not come to that conclusion?
So I did what the Quran told me to do. I take the Quran, and if I had a question, I'm looking at the Arabic, and I'm going back to the Aramaic and the Greek and the Hebrew with the previous text, and I'm trying to see what's there, right? And so the verse that talks about, there's one verse, Surah 4 ayah 171, that really gets people messed up, right? But it says it's super clear. It breaks down that your boy is the spirit from the Most High. It breaks down he's his word, and it even said it in if you go to corpusquran.com and go to the word by word, to where it breaks down the Arabic and the word by word, you don't get the translation, but the word by word for what it says. It literally says. So, and this is something that's controversial in the Quran, again, in the concept of Jesus being the Son of God, right? So the Quran makes the claim in two other verses that Allah did not take a son, right? Meaning that he did not come down and physically make a child with Mary, right? However, it makes the claim in Surah 4 ayah 171, it says, Subhanallah, blessed be Allah that he should have a son. Speaking about Jesus, again, this whole verse is talking about Jesus being the messenger of God, being the spirit of God, being the word of God, and says, blessed be God that he should have a son. It literally says that Jesus is the Son of God in the Quran. So I couldn't go against the concept of the fact that he's the word, because it says he's the word in the Quran. I couldn't circle 7 Quran as well. I couldn't go against the sonship concept because it's there in the Quran, right? Staring me right in the face. I'd have to take the hadith over the previous scripture to come up with another concept.
Okay, so with that, because you have individuals who believe that Christ is divine, but some individuals, they believe that he didn't come into his divinity until the baptism. So, and then you have those individuals who believe that Joseph was his biological father. Do you hold that view?
I am one that holds of the view that Joseph is the biological father. I'm not one that holds the view of the divinity at the baptism, although I'm willing to change view based upon evidence being shown and whatnot.
Okay. Well, let me give you a source. The Nag Hammadi scrolls. A lot of brothers that, and I'm not saying that's where they got it from,
right?
But from where I have read it myself, that when Christ came into the baptism, he was baptized by John the Baptist, I believe. That's what a lot of people would say, that the Spirit of the Most High came upon him, and that's where it confirms his deity or his godhood, or whichever individuals will call it. So, and see, but you don't believe that that he came into his deity at that time, which is very unique. That's the first time I've heard that. You know what I'm saying? So why is it that your view is so different from others?
So on that one, I would go into the John 1:1 concept, right? So when it's talking about in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. There's Theon, that is the main God, and there's Theos, that's the God that's with him. And then it talks about that Theos and that Word becoming flesh. It doesn't say that like it. It doesn't say that there was flesh and then the flesh became Theos. It says that the Theos became flesh. So that the godship or the godhood or the Elohim predates, so to speak, the flesh part is how I read it. So I can hear, like, I've heard people talk about like almost like the concept of like a sleeping God kind of a thing, to where like he was God, he was Theos, became flesh, but like his Theos was dormant in a sense, and then kind of reawakened at the baptism. I hear all that. To me, I have yet to see something that in the text that justifies that understanding. However, I'm not somebody who beefs on them little things, right? Like, so I'm somebody to where like if it's not salvific, I don't even trip. Like we can talk about stuff till the cows come. Like I enjoy the discussion, the debate. It makes me study the scrolls harder.
No, it's all good, bro. You know what I'm saying? And then one thing about it, we may have our disagreements. And I'm just talking about from a general perspective overall with people. But like one of my elders said to me years ago, he said, disagree to understand.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Because it all comes back to reasoning. Yeah, you may have a different view, or this person may have a different view, and so forth. But disagree to listen and to learn and to understand how a person came to the conclusions that they have come to. It definitely may help you out, whatever it is you're struggling in as an individual, because we are all forever learning. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely can respect and I appreciate you bringing out your understanding, man, because it helps. It really does. And like I said, this is not a hot seat to put a brother on the spot. This is just to gain clarity and to reason with others. You know what I'm saying? And because another thing about you, my brother, because I've heard it throughout the years, a lot of people have an issue with the fact that you're a Muslim, but you claim to be an Israelite. So can you give clarity of what you mean by that?
Yeah, 100%. Like, so I call myself a Muslim based upon Surah 3 ayat 64 in the Quran, which is it's spoken to all the people of the book. It's spoken to Jews, Christians, Muslims, Sabians, etc. And it's basically says the concept like, oh people of the book, let us come to common terms between us and you, that we bear witness that there's one God, right? That we don't associate partners to be equal with him, and that we don't raise men from amongst ourselves to be equal with the Most High, and that we're Muslims, again, bowing to his will. So I call myself a Muslim in that sense, right? I'm not a Muslim in the sense to where you're going to see me pray 5 times a day in the Orthodox Sunni or 3 times a day like an Orthodox Shia, where they combine their prayers. You're not going to see me recite the prayers that they pray when they pray. You're not going to see me do certain things that they do. You might see me do certain things that they do. You might see me fast for Ramadan. You know what I'm saying? That might happen. You're definitely not going to see me eat pork no time soon. You know what I'm saying? But so how am I an Israelite, right? How does this work, right? Well, so my mother comes from crypto Jews, etc. So that's something that I embraced from her lineage and whatnot. Something that I found out throughout genetic testing and whatnot was that on an autosomal level, I do have connection to tribes in West Africa that do connect to an Israelite tradition and whatnot. And so the more I looked into it, into both sides of my history, the more I found out that the people I came from in North and West Africa practiced a Hebrew tradition and whatnot, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, etc. And so I embrace both concepts. Like so, like being an Israelite is a nationality. The perspective of being a Muslim is a perspective on theology. So on a theological level, I describe myself as it's easier for me to describe myself as a Muslim than it is like a Christian or whatever, because the moment I say Muslim, everyone understands right off rip, I don't think Jesus is equal to the Most High God. And as long as we can start the conversation there, again, he's a prophet. He died on the cross. He's the Messiah, Son of God, a whole bunch of things. But what he's not for me, he's not the Most High God. He's Elohim, but he's not the Father, right? He's sent by the Father. He's empowered by the Father, etc. But he's not the Father. And so when I say Muslim, I don't have to, no matter what I say, I'm going to have to explain something different about my belief system because it's unique, right? However, when I start with Muslim, it's less to explain. I'll just say it like that.
Yeah, very unique, my man. Very unique, and that's why it's interesting to have this conversation with you. So yeah, man. Within the last couple of weeks, has been kind of on and off. Your name is most definitely been in the middle of some controversy.
Yeah, you might have heard it here and there. You might have heard it.
Yeah, man. So why is it that? Well, I'm not going to necessarily bring up. Well, I'll just say this much. There was a situation of a video that was played, and you were bringing some clarity about a certain type of relations between male and female, and some individuals who just pretty much show how low they can go, and try to paint this picture as if you were supporting something that the word of God speaks against.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you believe that your words were taken and twisted way left field? Why is that? Is it because there's a personal hate? Is it because people's behavior? If some of these individuals are pillars in the community, and for some reason they just feel like they need to go on the attack, I don't know why they do it, but the behavior that I've noticed from certain individuals is very un-Torah-like. And if we're going to be calling ourselves Torah believers or believers in Christ, the way how some of these individuals have gone about it, it just shows, it speaks a lot of volumes to me. The behavior is totally off. The conduct is just, way beyond. And it's actually disingenuous and very disrespectful. In the Torah, we are commanded to love thy neighbor as we love ourselves. We're also told in the Torah, because these individuals say they keep the law, a whole bunch of them call themselves Israelites. I hear it all over YouTube. Well, I'm Israel and we Israel. We got to do this and do that, right? But at the same time, they're slandering you. They're slandering and twisting your words. But at the same time, they got masses of people following them, telling them, brother, don't do that. We Israel, we can't do that. But for some reason, when it comes to you, no holds barred. And why is that?
Two main reasons. So this has come up multiple times. This first came up when I was in Moor circles or whatnot. And it came up for the same reason it's coming up now in the Israelite circles. When I was dealing with the Moor circles, one of the first things I did was I went around to the big head, the big heads and the big names and the big faces and whatnot, and the heads of the movement. And I was challenging them on them mixing the literature, the Moorish literature with NOI doctrine and making something that wasn't racist, very racist. to the point to where I was joining debate leagues and whatnot, to where these people were in there trying to do the thing like Lord Abba and who's been on Debate Talk for You and Tark Debate, etc. And they want to know parts of the actual debates on the topics or whatnot. And so instead of debating the topic and debating the issue and whatnot, people like Tahar Debate came out and wanted to create some kind of ad hom attack, because first and foremost, what happened with Tahar Debate was that he actually debated Judah Nazareth, a Torah only brother who's actually been on Debate Talk for You as well, and he was debating a concept that was unbecoming of a Muslim. So he was debating the concept of the Circle 7 or the Torah. What's better for our people? And Judah was somebody who I had built with, and somebody I had known a little bit, and we had talked a little bit, and I was helping him in terms of arranging his debates with SVDL and whatnot. And it turns out, because he's in Japan and whatnot, I'm in Washington State. Tahark is in Maryland. The brother running SVDL was in Philly and whatnot, so it was easy for me to talk to Judah and whatnot. I helped him set up their debate, and Tahark Bey comes out and he does some Tahark Bey YouTube flashy type stuff, and he does what a lot of people do when they're doing this stuff. He makes up something that's not real. He says that the Bible teaches that it's medicinal to put foreskins on your head for healing. And so a lot of people who are favorable to the Bible, they take issue with that. So does Judah Nazareth, right? The person he's debating, and says that righteous Moors like OM, like me, don't get down with stuff like that. And so the moment that Taharka heard that, it became all eyes on me and whatnot. He had to come take me down and whatnot, because I was being used against him in a debate, etc. whatnot. Not only that, he had issue with the fact that I was calling him out on the skin doctrine, and also on the fact that he was trying to preach that the Circle 7 said that Jesus did not die on the cross, and it 100% says that he did. And so because he couldn't deal with the information being brought, and I was bringing the stuff out on debate stages and whatnot, he had to go on the ad hominem attack to discredit the argument. He couldn't discredit the argument, so he had to discredit the person and whatnot. And so in trying to discredit the person, he tried to do whatever he could to discredit me. And at first he said he was going to prove I was gay, and said he had proof that I was gay. And then he couldn't prove I was gay. He tried to prove I was gay by showing me having pictures of me hanging out with women and whatnot, which was hilarious and whatnot. His crowd didn't buy it. The Moors were going in on him about it and whatnot. He had to turn off the live chat for his own videos, because the Moors were going to him about him slandering me and whatnot, right? And so after he couldn't prove I was gay, he was like, well, let me make something else up, right? And tried to prove, he said, my proof that he's gay is that he tried to back gay marriage or whatnot. And so he could only want to back gay marriage if he's orchestrating that kind of lifestyle or whatnot. And again, nobody bought it again, right? So he had to turn off the live chat for that video, etc., etc., etc. I made my rebuttal videos to the whole concept or whatnot, because what in fact did happen was I had actually came out in defense of traditional marriage when gay marriage had actually gotten passed. The federal government or the Supreme Court was hearing the oral arguments for changing traditional marriage, the language for traditional marriage, to also include same-sex marriages, etc., whatnot, right? And so I offered a defense of legal marriage by offering a different legal term for what would be a homosexual union, and also supporting the concept of civil unions, so that traditional marriage would retain its actual definition and not change, right? So I don't fault Taharka for this, because I personally think it was above his pay grade what I was saying, right? But he tried to take what I was saying and chopped it up to make it sound like I was supporting gay marriage when I specifically was not, right? And again, people who heard the whole concept, they were like, well, yeah, like once you hear it, like you can even hear Taharka read he's reading my words, and you can literally hear him say that, well, he says here he doesn't want the definition of marriage to change. Exactly. I don't want it to change. That's literally the whole point of what I was doing, right? And so the ad hominem didn't work, right? And so we find ourselves here in the Israelite circles and whatnot. Same thing happens. I'm running with the so-called moderates for a good year and change or whatnot. trying to help them advance certain causes or whatnot. And at the very beginning, I sit down with people like Sister E with witnesses on the phone and let them know, hey, I occupy a very unique position in this whole game because of my mother's lineage. The UA community cannot reject me being Jewish because the Jewish world will accept me as being Jewish, right? And on top of that, the arguments for my mother's people apply to the arguments for African descent people also being Jewish or whatnot, right? Or connected to a Hebrew tradition, etc. whatnot. So I occupy a very unique position to where like I can help prove all sides on this thing, but I can also hold all sides accountable, and I'm going to hold all sides accountable. I told that to people. Like, look, fam, I don't get down with the racist stuff. That's not how I get down. And so people tried to use my information, try to use me for their own benefit or whatnot. And once it became clear people are racist, cool, I'm not messing with y'all, not dealing with y'all. Now I got to become the enemy, right? Now I got to become the enemy. So what do? They go back in time and try to resurrect Taharka Bey's old dead arguments that didn't work the first time and try to make them apply now, and still can't do it. And in doing so, make themselves look foolish every single solitary time they bring it up, because they're trying to condemn somebody for standing up for traditional marriage based upon a biblical concept, and they wouldn't do it at that time. None of these people were doing it. They're still not doing it. As a matter of fact, what I was talking about, and one of the main reasons I was talking about it was because I was looking down the road and saying, you know what? The way this language is changing with the LGBT, the T part of this whole thing, people aren't looking at how this is going to change that to where they're going to use this change in gay marriage and whatnot. Because what's happening here is legally what happened is marriage is matrimony. It's the rights of the mother. It's a male and a female coming together, making a child or whatnot, and you have hereditary rights of the mother, whatnot, right? There's another form that's called patrimony. This is how it's the rights of the father, whatnot. Either or, you have a male and a female coming together to make a child or whatnot. That's what marriage is. You cannot switch that one up in any way, shape, or form. What happened now is that it got switched up to where a same-sex couple is getting recognized as the same thing as a non-same-sex couple, right? So the lines get legally blurred. So now they have a window or a hole to drive a truck through with this T part, right? And so this was the beginning. Again, no federal laws changed besides this concept of gay marriage in order to make the transgender stuff happen, left, right, and center. Once you saw the definition of marriage change, you saw the concept of gender fluidity happen. You saw like the transgender bathrooms happen. You saw all this start to pop off, and then we have it to where we have it now today, to where you have transgender people competing with non-transgender people in sports competitions, left, right, and center, all the way up to the Olympics at this juncture, right? We're having transgender people being covered under Title IX, etc., whatnot. All kind of things that are switched up and whatnot, right? But again, this is stuff that people aren't recognizing because they're too busy, right? Too busy trying to hustle the people and make merchandise of the people, fam. Whether you're someone like Taharka Bey, but trying to create controversy, going to Tariq Nasheed for a month and a half straight and getting slapped because of the whole joint, right? Or you're the moderates or whatnot, trying to do the same thing to where you're trying to self-clout chase yourselves by picking fights with smaller channels and just cyclically talking about yourselves over the whole thing and whatnot. You're trying to sell your products. Let me sell you my book. Let me sell you my shoe. Let me sell you my next documentary. And it's just making merchandise of the people. People like me and mines are bad news for people like that, because we're not asking for your money. We're not asking for clout. We don't care about none of that. And we will, and at that juncture, we're bad for business, fam.
Nah, I mean, that's what's up. Long as I know you, man, you've always been about making sure that we are edified and we understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. It's never been about clout.
Nope.
It's never been about being a part of a clique.
Nope.
Or any type of circle. It's always been about, let's make sure that we have the right information out there. Mm-hmm. If we want to be respected and we want to be looked as credible, let's conduct ourselves that way. Mm-hmm. Let's get past the gushy, ushy, emotional, I'm black and I'm Israel, you have to respect me. No one has to respect you. But if you're going to continue to be people mature in age, conducting yourself like a bunch of teenagers, you whatever you put forth, you're gonna get met with that same measure. So you definitely brought out some real good points with that, man. I definitely rock with you on that. So overall, what is it that you're provoking those who are righteous or those who are trying to walk that narrow path? What is the overall point? What are you provoking people to do? If you do have something, if you are provoking people, what's the purpose? What's the objective?
I'm trying to provoke people to righteous nationalism, right? Whether you're Israel or you're a Gentile, if you're raising your hand saying you're Israel, you are volunteering for the hardest job in the world. You're saying that you're volunteering to be a representative for the ways of the Most High in action for the world to see, right?
In behavior.
What exactly? 100% in action. You feel me? Yeah. Not dormancy, in action, so people can see it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you build it, they will come, kind of stuff, right? So, if you're Israel on that side, I'm trying to provoke you to that level of righteous action, right? A level of action to where the nations are going to be drawn to the light of your rising, right? On a Gentile side, I'm trying to invoke again the same concept of being a righteous nation, taking care of yours and taking care of the nation next to you, right? And in doing so, if we all do that, everyone's taken care of. It's the scrolls in action. And to me, that's in the world we live in today, when we're seeing all the craziness go on, like, to me, that's the only solution to this thing. Because either God's ways work or they don't. You know what I'm saying? So either we walk him out or we don't. And to me, that's the end all be all. I'm not here for supremacy. I'm here to knock down supremacy. I'm not here for racism. I'm here to knock down racism. I'm here to knock down all the walls that divide or whatnot, because that's not what the Most High brought to the people or whatnot. And on another level, I'm here like, again, like if you're talking about your Israel, you're a Moor, whatever, like I have this concept of building the wall with one hand, like you're taught in the scrolls, and defending it with the other one, right? So like you said, bring out information that edifies the people, but also defending that said information so the people have something firm to hold on to. So they're not just so people don't got to just take my word for it, take your word for it, take anybody's word for it. They know this is sound, it's solid, it's been tested. We can take this anywhere. It's respectable.
And that's why I appreciate brothers like you, the Yap Gang, and various other individuals who are putting the information out there so we don't walk around here looking foolish like we just know everything. You know what I'm saying? So in this side of in this society today, the world of social media, it's all about how good I look when I talk. Mm-hmm. It's not about actually sitting down and learn. People just want to take information and repeat it and run their mouth. You got it all over Trash House. I know this clubhouse. I call it Trash House.
Bro,
I was on there earlier, and I ain't gonna say no names, but it's the usual suspects, the same YouTube celebrities, the same individuals who just go around and they just love to hear themselves talk. I was in the room. All I can hear is just the same rhetoric. The Most High died for Israel, or Christ came for Israel only. I've been hearing that topic, that same conversation for the last 15 to 16 years. Can we talk about something else other than Israel?
I talk to the same people, right? The same exact people you're talking about. And I asked them, like, so is it part of your things, for instance, to make your own schools or to do anything like that? And they're like, man, you know what? I never even thought about that. Like legit, like Sergeant Sakari, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking to you about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like you know, the scroll say separate from the wicked, like, yeah, separate from the wicked, blah, blah, blah. But you're cool with your kid going to a transvestite story time?
Boy, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, but right, that's what I'm saying. And these same cats will try to get on people like me for actually trying to protect our kids from that kind of stuff, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a lot of bloviating and a lot of making the people merchandise, right? Or making merchandise of them, right? and people not getting nothing for it. Like, I don't like people just throwing money at this stuff and not getting money, nothing back for it. I'm like, this is crazy. This is super crazy, because this is not what this is not what being Israel's about. It's not about like, hey, worship me, praise me, give me something. It's like, nah, fam. I'm the Psalm 67 Israelite, right? I'm the person that says, like, go to the scrolls, like, we can't even receive our blessings from the Most High unless we show the saving health to the saving health of the Most High, the Yeshua, to the nations. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's the number one job. Show the saving health of the Most High to the nations.
I normally go around asking a lot of people this question, and over the years, I've heard some very interesting answers. And I'm going to ask you, why was Jacob's name changed to Israel?
Fantastic question. I don't know that the scrolls specify the why, but I would assume it's like the what explains the why, right? Because of his actual struggle with the Most High, right?
Okay.
Fantastic question. I would actually have to look into it more to give you a specific answer as to why, but I would start with that.
No, and I definitely would agree with that. Over the years, I've heard people say, "Oh, because he was black." No, and I'm talking about people who got 20, 30. Well, they say 20, 30 years. They say that, but when you hear that, when you get that kind of answer, no, the Most High does not. He's not a respecter of person. No, he doesn't look at skin color. He looks at the heart. So,
his name wasn't Kedar-El, or you know what I'm saying, or what's another good word for black? And I'll say with Kedar-El, right? Like, no, it's not the darkest of God, right? It was Israel. You know what I'm saying?
It was him contending. It was Jacob's willing to contend, to be tried. Like the situation with Esau, the situation with Laban. He was on the run from Laban. Then all of a sudden he ran into Jacob. And I mean, Jacob ran into Esau. You know, at the time Esau had like a whole bunch of men. And Esau was a man of arms, a military type dude. You know what I'm saying? So, and then one thing about it, when you read, I think it's Genesis 20, I think it's Genesis 30, 32, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing, let me go to it just to be sure. There was something very significant, right? And he said something that I think a lot of us miss. He's on the run. He's stressed out. He think Esau to come do something to him. And he's also on the run from Laban. And Jacob prays. Yeah, I know people they make fun of me because I turn pages. I'm old school, man. I like the physical books. I can't do that digital type stuff. I just can't. Let's see. And I think it was somewhere in Jacob he prayed. Yeah, verse 9, Genesis 32 and verse 9. He said, then Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham and the God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, return to your country and your family, and I will deal with you. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I have crossed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become two companies. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him lest he come and attack me and the mother with the children. For you said I will surely treat you well and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for a multitude." So he's praying. He's praying to the Most High. And he's like, "Hey, I'm going through all this trouble. You made a promise to me. You said you was going to do this and do that. I have nothing else but to rely on you." And I honestly believe that he's being tried the whole time to see if he was going to be willing to rely on the Most High. And then when he's going back and forth with the messenger or the angel or the Malak, He's struggling. He's wrestling. He's
Yeah.
contending. Has nothing to do with his skin color.
Fact.
Has nothing to do. So now he's being tried the whole time. And that's why the angel asked him, what is your name? Your name will be no longer Jacob. It will be known as Israel because you have wrestled. You have power. You are contending. Because look, hey, Jacob would not let go. He wouldn't let go. He kept contending. And that's the definition of what it means to be an Israelite. You are supposed to contend. You are supposed to constantly fight. You are supposed to hold on to the Most High till you have nothing else but Him. He's going to try you. He's going to see if you're worthy. If you are worthy of His mercy, you have to be tried. We have to be tried through the fire. We have to go through those hard times to see if we're worth it. Like Paul talks about, I think it's the Corinthians. You're either going to come out of silver, gold, or whatever. But it is a must. Israel has nothing to do with skin color. It has all to do with behavior and conduct. It is an action. When you look at it in the Hebrew, it's an action.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a skin color. It's not just a nation. No, because when his name was changed to Israel, there was no nation. It was just him. So now, Abraham was not a nation. He was an individual who willingly obeyed the commandments of his God. Israel is about it's about striving and contending and being obedient. And who's the best example? Christ himself. Mm-hmm. Obedient to the death. He relied on the Father the whole time. He wasn't going around pushing skin color. He wasn't going around saying Israel's identified by the curses. You can't find Christ saying, oh, Israel cursed. I hear that all over social media. So when we say we're Israel, we have to understand what that means. It is not this skin color gimmick that you're getting from these religious individuals on the internet. I'm sorry, it's not. So we're doing a big disservice when we're saying, I'm Israel and we cursed. No. You're being a big disservice. It's like spitting in the Most High's face when you say that.
Agreed. And I'm gonna mess it up even more because I'm gonna take it to the Quran on people, right? So the Quran paints this picture of, out of all of God's creation, the mountains, the trees, nothing wanted the responsibility of taking his covenant, right? And that mankind was the only thing arrogant enough and foolish enough to take his covenant, right? So we did. And out of all of mankind, right, it says, "O Israel, remember that you were chosen above all the world. Remember your covenant with me that I might remember my covenant with you. Remember your Sabbaths. Remember your scriptures. Remember your prophets. Remember that Jesus was the Messiah, that you fell away because you didn't listen to him or to David." It says that remember that you will be gathered in your own land in the end times, etc. But if you're not righteous, you won't be. So out of the whole thing, there's a specific covenant for mankind, but an in particular specific covenant for Israel where they're chosen above all the world. And so this whole concept of remembering that, right? That so it says that we were foolish and arrogant enough to accept God's covenant as mankind. But again, we see Jacob, like you're saying, he's like, no, you're going to bless me. I'm not letting go till you bless me, fam. He was the only one out of creation who was bold enough to grab God and say, no, I want that blessing. You said you was going to bless me. Let's get it. Right. And he was like, okay, guess what your blessing is? You get to bless the world. Like you get to hold this responsibility, whatnot. Right. So it's a beautiful struggle because it's like you said, but it's a fight, and it's a fight for this conduct. It's a fight for this. It's a fight to keep yourself a clean vessel for this whole thing. It's a fight to keep yourself an example for the Most High. It's a fight to keep yourself an example for yourself, right? It's a fight, and again, like you're talking about, you have to rely on the Most High to get it done. Even Jesus, if Jesus had to rely on the Most High, what you got to do?
And the text say that Jesus did not sin. So if he didn't sin, what makes you any different, any better than him? And he had to be a servant and be obedient. But what I'm seeing it's this attitude to where, oh, I'm Israel, I ain't gotta do nothing else. No, you don't get no green light to do whatever the hell you want. It's not how this works. That's not how it works. But yeah, well, go ahead, brother. About to say something? Go ahead.
No, I was going to reiterate, like, so to that end, we literally got people in the text, right? We got prophets coming out the wilderness saying, y'all better repent, do your thing. Well, we got the priests saying, nah, what we're going to do is we're going to put on the ephods. We're going to go bring out the Ark of the Covenant, have the girls go hit the tambourines and whatnot. We're Israel. We're special because we're Israel. We don't got to worry about nothing. God got us because we're Israel. And then they get smashed, right?
Yeah. But check this out. What's the purpose?
Of which part?
When it comes to being Israel, because there is a duty. Yes, you're supposed. Oh, go ahead.
No, so like the purpose is to be the living, breathing ways of the Most High for people to see and replicate it, whatnot, right?
See and replicate. So that means you're supposed to be provoking people to come serve this God.
Yes, sir.
No. Yes.
Yes, sir.
You're supposed to provoke people because you're not only supposed to be having the benefits, all of humanity through Israel are brought to the Most High. Mm-hmm. Israel, you are the vessel. You are the vessel. That's it. It doesn't get any. That's it. The Most High doesn't need you. We need him. That's the problem. People think because now they come into this knowledge that they Israel, it's all about them. No. No. Yeah, but let me stop because they don't like me anyway. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one that I don't get invited to the parties. Israel can't stand my guts. So it is what it is.
Well, this thing in conversation, we got to talk about this stuff because, like, people getting caught up on these conversations, like you're talking about, is why the ad hominems come out. It's also why we can't why we can't see a lot of advancement coming in the community because we can't actually have the hard conversations, get to brass tacks, and put the information on the table and see what floats and what don't. You know what I'm saying? When you can't have a respectful dialogue and deal with the information, ad homs is always what comes next. Mm-hmm. It never fails. I've been hearing it for years. This is why I rock alone. I'm solo. I got my respect amongst certain people in the community as brothers and sisters who I know. But at the end of the day, this is how I see things. Mm-hmm. I understand it this way. I was born by myself. I'm gonna die by myself, and I'm going to be judged by myself. So it's best that I do my best as a human being, as a father, to make sure that my household is on point. Because the Most High is not going to ask me, well, what did so-and-so, sister, brother, and yada, yada, them say? No, what did you do? You knew you was Israel, or you knew you were supposed to be one of my chosen? What did you do to stand out and to make sure that the world knew who I was? How did you represent me? And we can sit here and talk about, yeah, we know that, but do we actually know what that means? Because we're all going to face them one day. And once you got some individuals who get it, you got some individuals that hear it and goes out on the other end. Whatever. I worry about that when that comes. You better make sure when that comes that you better find yourself in the right balance with the Most High. That's one thing I tell all. You can quote scriptures. You can bring out your whack garbage precept package, whatever you want to call it. But what's going to happen? What are you doing to save lives? What are you doing to provoke the nations who are in darkness? What are you doing? Bro, you got DMX ready to meet him going on in the back of my head. It's like some theme song to you right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to meet him. I'm living ain't right. Black hate, white hate, black is right. Back to the same fight.
I have a love for our people, but it's not based on hatred for others.
Man, say that one more. See, that's what that is. Like if your love for yourself is based upon hatred for another person, you don't love yourself. That ain't love. That's not what that is. And it can go away in an instant. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, it's I heard somebody who said something once who said on a spiritual level, beware of those who produce light by fire. and equating that to the concept of like the concept of let your light shine before men and whatnot. That's an inner light. Light by fire is something that has to consume something, right? To burn, right? And so if your love for yourself is built upon the consumption of hatred for another person and whatnot, you consistently need more and more people to hate in order to love yourself. You're a
Then is that really love? That's not love.
No, exactly. You're a devourer of people at that juncture. That's carnivorous. That's not love, fam.
And then that's why we continue to have this hatred for other people.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to love thy neighbor as you love thyself. It goes much further than shalom, brother. No. It goes much further than that. It goes much further than having a nice conversation with somebody.
That's the coldest thing in the world. Like, so love somebody as if they are you, right? Like, that's why, like, when people talk about like love being the basis of the law, whatnot, like, bro, like that's real talk. Like, once you address every issue you walk through in life with that one basic concept, like, how would I treat this person if they were me? Like, if I was going through this, the same thing they were going through, how would I want someone to treat me in this situation, right? The moment you start reflecting upon things like that, your whole world is going to change, fam. Your whole world is going to change, and people are going to change seeing you and the way you act, because you're going to be slowing things down, doing things a completely different way. It's like on that whole, like a permanent, like what would Jesus do kind of a concept, right?
Yeah. You see, being an Israelite, I believe Israel are to be the revolutionaries. I believe Israel is a revolutionary lifestyle.
Agreed.
And one of my favorite
and real quick, quick comment. I don't mean revolutionary in terms of like militant revolution. I mean like in terms of like philosophically revolutionary. You know what I'm saying? That's just for YouTube right there. Just disclaimer for YouTube. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, revolution. One of my favorite dudes. He's also the image of revolutionary, like arms and stuff. But he makes a very good point. I admire him. His name is Che Guevara. He said a revolutionary should be guided by love. If a revolutionary does not have love, that revolution is in vain. It's not revolution. So, and we see Christ, he was a revolutionary. And what was the one thing that he commanded his disciples and the rest of them, and those who were willing to listen to him? He said to love one another as I had loved you. You got to have love. You have to have love, not just to have love for everyone else. You have to love it within self. You have to have it within you. Fred Hampton said the revolution will not be televised. It starts with you. I'm going to John chapter 8. The master Yeshua, he said, the truth shall make you free, or it shall set you free. That Greek word for truth is aletheia. It means changing your perception, changing your reality. So when you call yourself Israel, you are not supposed to have the ways of the world, hating everybody and acting like a nigga. No, that's not Israel. You have to be changed, fully changed. You have to be converted, like Christ said in Matthew chapter 18. You must be converted. John chapter 3, you must be born again. Look that up in the Greek. It means to be born from above. I have a new mindset. So, my fault. I'm sitting up here holding this up. But yeah, I didn't mean to go into no preaching. I just at times, sometimes I just got to go there. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead, brother. You can go ahead and speak. I just had to.
It's good money. Go ahead and preach, because there's nobody jumping in the hot seat. You know what I'm saying? There's out of all the hate your boys been getting for the past few weeks. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no one trying to, you know what I'm saying, step into the kitchen.
Well, for those who are listening, this is the hot seat with Orthodox Moor. If you would like to join the panel or come and ask the brother a question, I believe the link is in the description box or in the chat. Mm-hmm. Hit the link and we will gladly invite you up. And please be respectful. We can disagree and we can have opposing views and still be cordial. But I shouldn't have to remind the righteous on how to act. You should just know how to act. You should. But if anyone is willing to do that, let's get it, man. What's up with it?
Yeah, I took the battery out my smoke detector this morning, so let's go. Let's go.
Hey, I can't see the comments, man. Is Blacktastic still out there?
Oh, I'm sure he's in there running amok, making people crack up or whatnot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's pretty much what the Elder's known for. You know what I'm saying? Most High willing, we get the Elder on too, man. That's gonna be dynamic as well. I can't wait for that one. I was That's
Make
gonna be
sure
a
y'all
good.
tune in for that. So when's that one gonna be?
I believe it's gonna be on the 18th. We're gonna have the Elder Blacktastic, who's been on fire these last couple of months. Been on fire like the NBA Jam logo. Oh my, he's on fire. I took it back to 1995. But yeah, though, we're gonna do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, check him out
Most
and
High willing.
check out Zadok, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Zadok, the God Hop MC, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. The Elder Zadok, Most High willing, we get him to come on and do another hot seat. You know, Zadok, he about to smoke.
Yeah. Him and Blacktastic, a real good 1-2 punch right now. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to them and all the stuff they're doing right now.
Slaying that religious mumbo jumbo we keep hearing. So yeah, man, it's definitely a beautiful thing to see the elders come together and defend the word of God like it's supposed to be, based on me. When I see the elders move, it most definitely is humbling to see them do it, man. Because you know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't get the opportunity to see it or make it to see it. So for me to see it, definitely am humbled to see it. I appreciate the elders. They know I love them both.
Well, since I'm getting no smoke, let me give some smoke right quick. Right,
man, go right, tap in. All right, go right ahead, bro.
There might be a reason why there's not a lot of people in the chat trying to give some smoke right now, because like your boy and his peoples, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Israelite Intelligentsia, shout out to the Yap Gang, shout out to the Yahweh War Machine, shout out to all the people I've been affiliated with over the years and whatnot. We've been bringing scholastic arguments for a long time that are getting sharper and sharper and sharper by the year, that are changing people's modus operandi or whatnot, so to speak, or whatnot. Like, so the UA is not making the same arguments this year they were making last year, and certain people are having to change their arguments. And at one point in time, no, there's no way Israel could have came off the slave ship and blah blah blah. And now people understand. Me and Ma don't make the claim that everybody that came off the slave ships in Israelite, but we do make the claim that some were, right. And so genetics and linguistics and archaeology and anthropology and whatnot is started to prove this out. And people like Vocab Malone are now having to say, well, you know what? I can't deny that Semitic DNA came off the slave ships, right? This is slowly moving the ball down the field and whatnot, moving the chains and whatnot, right? We got people like Dr. Vince Bantu talking about his studies, citing the same stuff that I'm going to cite in terms of like Islamic sources and whatnot, saying like, no, there's Israelite practice or presence in West Africa. We can't deny that now, right? Now again, neither one are going to say it's the majority, but they'll break down the fact, no, we can't deny it no more, right? Things of that nature. We got people on the other side to where like we're using genetics to where like, well, now you can't be supremacist with this thing, fam, because it doesn't wash out like that. DNA don't work the way you think it works. If you think you got this haplogroup and it only belongs to certain people with a skin tone, it can't go to other people. No, that's not how DNA works, fam. And so a lot of me and mine are breaking hearts when it comes to the scholarship and whatnot, in terms of taking people's money-making arguments out their mouth and whatnot. And again, correcting the information for the sincere out there. Because now people got to have the conversation. Like, okay, so what do we do with the fact that certain people were Israelites that came off the slave ship? What do we do with that now? Well, yeah, what do you do with it? And the question is, what do we do with it? What do we choose to do with it? And this is why I love what BA's talking about. Like, we got to choose to be righteous with this thing, fam. Because trying to be supremacist with it, you can't. A, it doesn't work with the scriptures. B, it don't work with science. You can't prove it out, fam. There's no way you can prove a supremacy thing with this. So it kills that, right? But at the same point, there's no way you can prove an exclusionary thing with this. You can't come to me and tell me like, oh man, your people were only this coming from West Africa, or E1B1A was landlocked to West Africa only, blah 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 blah. Or you definitely can't tell me this one. Abrahamic traditions aren't West African. You definitely can't tell me that. And one thing you really can't tell me is that I have to practice Reformed Christianity if I want to get into heaven. Like, so I come from people like in West Africa and whatnot. That again, when you trace my genetics, the people where I come from and whatnot, they're historically Christian prior to colonialism. A Christianity connected to Ethiopia and Yemen. They're Muslim prior to colonialism and whatnot. They're Jewish prior to colonialism and whatnot. They have African spiritual traditions prior to colonialism and whatnot, right? These are their own traditions and whatnot. What we didn't have was Reformed Christianity and whatnot. Am I against that? No, not my bag. I'm not gonna shoot the messenger if he's a Reformed Christian or whatnot. What I'm saying is, don't tell me I gotta be, fam. When my people weren't, and they had different traditions and whatnot. This is the Orthodox we're talking, right? Like, so a lot of people tell me like, well, this is the Orthodox Christianity. Well, no, fam. Which one? Because my people's Christianity, like, you can see our practices, and this is why I get mad at a lot of these people. Because in the past year and change, fam, I've been doing so much study on Low Country Christianity, i.e., the Christianity we were practicing coming off the slave ships amongst the Gullah Geechee people and whatnot, fam. And what's blowing my mind is the depth and breadth of a tradition that's there that nobody is studying. And when you get knee deep into it, it's just the concept of Ethiopian Christianity is people talk about it being the most Jewish form of Christianity out there. When you get into the Gullah Geechee Low Country Christianity, it is arguably just as, if not more, Jewish than Ethiopian Christianity. I get into this argument with people like in terms of like the UA community, like with the True ID Apologetics or Adam Coleman and whatnot, right? One of OCAP's people or whatnot. Again, he's one of many of the Christians who will cite the same Islamic sources as me, speaking that there were Christians prior to colonialism. But when asked what form of Christianity they practice, oh, we don't know. What you mean you don't know? It definitely wasn't Reformed Christianity. Again, I'm not shooting at it. I'm just saying it's we're being pigeonholed, like we have to practice that, and that's not necessarily what our people were practicing and whatnot, right? And so I'm like, no, I'll make the argument that it was an Ethiopic Yemenite form. A, we can track the migration, but B, we can see what practices came off the slave ships, and people aren't looking at that part, right? And so this is where we become dangerous for a lot of people, because explaining this kind of stuff here. It takes a lot of money out of people's pockets when they're talking some other stuff. And I'll just leave it right there.
Man, boy, oh boy, man, I was actually looking forward to the heat coming, man. Act like the heat don't want it. I don't know what's going on, man.
Me both, bro. I thought it was gonna be left, right, and center. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was gonna be filled in questionnaires or questions for a hot minute on this joint. Recycling a few people even.
Yeah, I most definitely thought it was going to be an audience, but I guess that's not the case. Kind of disappointed at some of the people, man. I thought we was going to have some intense questioning coming your direction. Definitely all the ad homs and all the attacks that we've been hearing, and even when you did your video a few weeks ago, bringing clarity on the matter when you were going into the matrimony, the video that you were clarifying that, and It was a whole bunch of fanboys and fangirls from various other platforms. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking they was gonna come bring it, but man, gosh,
I'm disappointed. Honestly, I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, man. I mean, but look, Brad. Hey, the floor is yours, brother. You want to keep building? We can keep building. You know me, man. I'm just chilling like a villain over here, man. I ain't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? I got the house. The kids is gone. I'm just tapping in, man. I'm just here.
Well, we can revise this as well. Like, so anybody who wants to just jump on the panel and kick it, you can do that right now, because we got no detractors at the moment. We can just keep this thing rocking.
Yeah. Anyone would like to come on and just hit the link? Come tap in with the boy, man. Let us know you're still breathing. I mean, I know the elder is out there, so I mean, somebody tap in. I mean, I thought we was going. I was looking forward to some questions. I was looking forward to hearing the creativity of the so-called community, and I'm kind of shy right now. Like, for real though, man.
Well, in that case, let me start talking about, I guess, some of the controversies I've been involved with.
Yeah, go right ahead, brother.
One of the biggest ones I've been involved with was I'm gonna blame this one on your man JP. You know what I'm saying? Justin got me in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Because
you talking about it now?
He had Anonymous had the nerve. Shout out to Anonymous. Had the nerve. You know what I'm saying? Had the nerve to go down to that church in Savannah in 2019, and in the First African Baptist Church, it had the nerve, you know what I'm saying, to be inquisitive and actually go on the tour and learn for himself what was going on with them pews and whatnot. And he was super excited.
Dare he?
And he was super excited because he was hearing about the concept of the fact that there might be some Hebrew on the pews and whatnot. Now my man can read Hebrew. He's literate in Hebrew with that, right? He's done a seminary route, the whole nine and whatnot, right? Like he's excuse me, the degree in religion is something else I forgot, but I'm pretty sure he's got some seminary training with that, right? But official in that sense and whatnot. So he was coming back, like he was wilding out, like he was hitting me and the homies up and whatnot, taking all kind of pictures, sending them to us and whatnot, recording the homie doing the tour and whatnot. He's telling me he's seen a couple of Hebrew letters. He said, I think I might even see some Arabic. He showed me some stuff. I told him like, man, a blind person could see a law on the pew you just showed me and whatnot. This is back in 2019 and whatnot. And he's telling me like, yeah, like so the tour guide's talking about a mixture of a trade language of Arabic and Hebrew and other stuff. I was like, oh, word. So we just started on this whole thing like a trade language. It becomes this thing. The crew I'm dealing with at the time, like we're like Israelite Intelligentsia, also the Yahweh War Machine and whatnot. We're trying to literally like the Yahweh War Machine. I love building with them brothers when we were together because it was a group of, again, Christians, Muslims, Jews, Israelites and whatnot, Old Testament Israelites, Messianic Israelites, etc. Whatnot, all trying to defend the Bible within the conscious community and whatnot, right, and against the conscious community arguments and whatnot, right. Arguments like, did the Exodus happen? Who's the Pharaoh of the Exodus? Did the Israelites exist, etc. Whatnot. And so my man, like, so at the time when Anonymous brought this stuff out, we were all like, oh, let's figure this out. Like I was super on, like, if there's a trade language, I want to know because we can find out what it says. You know what I'm saying? If we can find out what it says, bro, that's huge for us. And so we look into it more and more, find out that there's multiple potential languages on the pews or whatnot. Find out about the Boom Church crew, the We Woke Now crew, get in touch with them about the whole thing and whatnot. There is a long video on my channel breaking down my interaction with the We Woke Now. They make a lot of claims that are verifiably false, 100% verifiably false. And this is the part that I don't understand. Like people nowadays are making claims like people don't got proof of stuff, and it's just hilarious. Like you gotta believe me and not your lying eyes or whatnot. But it typically ends up being to where like I'll show the receipts. If the people see what it is, and my numbers don't go down. You know what I'm saying? My numbers don't go down; they just go up. You know what I'm saying? My channel gets bigger, not smaller, and whatnot.
So why do you think you receive some of that type of backlash from those individuals who you just named?
What's up, bro? Because okay, in this particular situation, like I'm literally taking money out of pockets. Like so, these people are advancing documentaries, tours, videos, and other stuff based upon the fact that they're pushing this concept of there's cursive Hebrew, not just cursive Hebrew, but soletreo, which is a very specific form of cursive Hebrew that came from the Iberian Peninsula, from the Sephardic Jews and whatnot, right? And it goes along with this further claim that we are the true Sephardic Jew, and the Sephardic Jew is black, and the Negro is the Sephardic Jew, and blah blah blah. It's this whole convoluted construct that they have, to where, I disprove that whole construct, and I'm not trying to. It just is what it is. B, it becomes. So here's the big issue, right? Like, so what me and Anonymous were working on, and we put a lot of work into it, man. What we were working on is things that actually go into proving who we are in terms of a stage. Like, if you're claiming an Israelite tradition in America, you need to be able to show it, right? Living and breathing, walking, talking, all kind of stuff, right? Like every other group of Jewry in the world that claims that stuff. And so what they do is they show you language, they show you practices, they show you all kind of stuff, right? And so this was one of the roads we were taking was the language feed, right? And lo and behold, there potentially is Hebrew on the pews in another form, like in block Hebrew, and there's potentially even Judeo-Arabic on the pews, right? And these are kind of things that go a long way in improving validity in terms of a people group and whatnot, right? So we were becoming another viable source of information, right? And so when the name of your game is to control information and to be the only one giving out information, another group of people putting out viable information is bad for you, right? Particularly if they're not trying to charge for it. See, that's the problem with me and mine is we want to give you as much information as possible, and we're not charging you for it, man. We're not asking you for money. You don't see me. The only time you've ever seen me ask for money was for the limbo. You feel me? You're never gonna see me ask for money for beef. It's like, well, you might if something crazy happens, I'm gonna like, oh, you know what? There was an emergency. Boom, I might use it. But in terms of information, no, it's a labor of love, man. It's 100% labor of love. And that's a problem for people who make it, again, when they're making merchandise of the people, because it's not a labor of love, fam. Again, like we're talking about, they got to consume people. They got to consume people to get what they want.
You know, my personal stance on the pews, I remember when that was like going on, that was crazy. And there was a whole bunch of Israelites that I would talk to about it. Mm-hmm. And I asked the question. I don't have any opposing views saying that I mean, to me overall, I was more so like, okay, let's just say hypothetically that, okay, this is proof that we are the people, right? Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, what is it going to change? You know what I'm saying? Because then you have some individuals who say, well, Israel is identified by the curses. Okay, but it also says in the curses, you will be a hidden people. Mm-hmm. So when you go off and you whine and you cry, you complain, see, we Israel, look at the pew. Well, wait a minute. In one breath, you're saying that you're identified by the curses. And if you believe that, then guess what? It says you'll be a hidden people. No one will buy you. No one will accept you. So why is it that we feel like we have to go argue up and down about something that's written on some damn pews inside of a church?
For what you're just talking about right there, like, so people have this concept of linking Israel to being supreme, right? And this concept of supremacy. They made being an Israelite a black supremacist movement, right? And first of all,
it's a big disservice. That's a big disservice.
Yeah, 100%. And here's the sad thing, fam. Like, when you can't even look at the people they're trying to connect to and make that claim with a straight face, right? So Gullah Geechee, like Low Country Christianity, whatnot, and the markings on them pews and whatnot is so diverse. Like, first of all, there's markings from potentially all aspects of the slave trade in that church, right? Like, so there's potentially markings from Ethiopia, there's potentially markings from the Congo, potentially markings from like Central West Africa, etc., whatnot, right? Like, literally all sides of this thing, right? Which is just crazy to think about, right? Second of all, it's possible that they've left these markings there for each other in order, like, to orchestrate some Underground Railroad type stuff, right? Third, even more so, it's indicative of how the Gullah Geechee worked together, right? Like, so when you know the story of this church and how they built this church and the decades it took to build this church and the painstaking ways that people went about building this church and whatnot, like finishing the work in the fields and then going at night to go build the church, you dig? The women building big fires so the homies could see while they're building at night, you did. Like, we're talking about people who came from over 20 plus different ethnic groups in West Africa to accomplish these feats, right? They put a lot of stuff down, right? They weren't beefing with you. No. We want a place to go worship the Most High. And from them places, man, they took care of the community. They brought crops, right? They would all bring, like, they were practicing stuff like we see straight out the scrolls, first fruits, harvest festivals. them kind of things. They're bringing them to the church, divvying them out to the people who need that stuff, right? They're taking care of those who need stuff. They're making mutual aid societies, all them kind of things there and whatnot, right? But they're not doing so in a supremacy form or fashion. There's not one group above the other. Again, 20 plus, up to 27 different ethnic groups, fam. It wasn't like, oh, the Fulani or the Supreme, and therefore you have, or the Mandingo or the Yoruba Supreme. No, fam. Because to Massa, they was all slaves, fam. Like, they was all slaves, fam. And so when you go back and look at that culture, fam, they were a culture about not being supremacist. It was literally like when their culture looks just like New Testament situations where the Messiah said to her, like if you have something and I need it, you gotta break me off. If I have something and you need it, I gotta break you off and whatnot, right? That's literally how their whole culture is set up. That's not a supremacist culture, fam. That's not a supremacist. Like, that's anybody who needs something. I got you. Their culture is so beautiful when you get into the thick of it and whatnot. And it's not this angry, you owe me anything. They weren't saying that to nobody after slavery, fam. The Geechee went and got theirs on their own, fam, and left it at that. They were like, leave me on the island, do our thing, fam.
But see, you don't see that within even post-exilic Israel. You don't see that type of you don't see that behavior. When you do, like, you see, for me, and this is me for those who know me, you know, when I came into the belief that I was a descendant of Jacob, you know, for me, it was, I decided to do my own research. I didn't want to just rely on someone shouting Deuteronomy 28. I was like, okay, well, let me do some research on these people from a secular perspective.
Right.
Secularly. And one thing I researched about the Israelite people, they were known as great writers, had a great writing skill. So I wanted to know everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, through the eye of the nations and the outside of Israel, from a historical perspective, what they understood and what they knew and what was common. So that's just me. And then to understand the culture, like some Israelites, some individuals, like you know, I'm connected with a sister Ashanti, and what we started doing is we started looking through. Say it again.
I said, shout out to Ashanti.
Oh, much love to the elder. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it, you know what I'm saying, we started looking at the oral traditions. We started looking through different various historical sources on how these people lived, what they thought, what was common, what was the social norms, what they understood. Because if we're claiming to descend from these people, isn't it important to know these things? And the thing is that, yeah, and you know what I'm saying, and understand the culture, like the language. Like, I go into many circles online and different conversations, and I talk to various people, and it's like, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Okay, fine, I hear you. But when we start talking about the culture, and part of the culture is the language. Like my man Anonymous Hebrew say, when that conversation comes up, he says, I hear nothing but rats pissing on cotton.
Man, that's the one right there.
Yeah. The conversation gets quiet. Then we start bringing some of these sources out. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to. But I'm like, but I thought
you don't hear me saying Shalom Masalakia. What you talking about?
Yeah. So now, then the ad homs come. Oh, what make you hate show people? Well, something wrong with you, brother, and you need to go repent, and you need to do this, and you need to. I'm like, you know what? For me personally, I just made it a point to just know things. You know what I'm saying? Because if we're supposed to be leaving something behind for the younger generation. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting up here like, okay, as a father, and I got various nieces and nephews and little cousins who are all looking up to me, asking Uncle BA questions or Cousin BA questions, or I got my kids, Daddy, what's this? Daddy, what's that? So I'm like, okay, I gotta give them something to where they can feel proud, they can be confident and know, well, this is the history of where I come from. This is the history of my ancestors. Mm-hmm. So How do I go about it? You know what I'm saying? How do I show them? What do you leave behind for them so they can continue and take it to the further generations to show their children and grandchildren and so forth? What legacy are we leaving behind for our people? And that's the question I ask. And when those questions are, when I put them out there and I talk to various individuals, I ain't gonna say no names, you know what I'm saying? Because these same individuals act like they don't know you when you see them, you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. But when I put the stuff out there, then it's like there's no type of communication. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to go about it. They just want to push this internet religion that they've made up for the last couple of years. So, and then you expect people from the outside looking in to respect you. You expect the so-called Christian apologists. You demand they respect you. Why? You have nothing to show. You know what I'm saying? You have nothing to stand on. Because you don't want to tap into the history and understand the culture of the people who you claim to descend from. So you want to replace it with something else that you feel that looks good and smells good. And you expect people on the outside who have done their research on the Jews or the Israelites, you expect them to respect that. They're not going to.
Yeah, that's the cold part, is they're doing replacement theology on their own people.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's why I love brothers like Ryan Devine. Because he said it once before too. He was like, man, I'm out here putting this information out here so we can look credible as a people. Like, man, because we out here looking bad. You know what I'm saying? So this is what not being in the room to defend yourself looks like. I guess I would take that as a compliment or as a positive. His beautiful truth. Much love to you. So
you can always hit the link, man.
Yeah, you can always hit the link and bring clarity, my brother or my sis. You know what I'm saying? Not quite sure, but you can most definitely build with us if you would like to or ask a question. But it's about leaving a legacy behind, or because you're supposed to be a light to those who are in darkness.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to be pulling people in. How and what does that look like?
Nah, but you don't understand, bro. The only history I'm supposed to know about my people is that they were black, bro. What you saying?
But see, that's what I'm saying. So how do you get see, now I'm gonna ask you another question. I'm gonna ask you a question. This so-called black supremacist way of thinking that Israel's always better,
mm-hmm.
When you call that insecurity?
I call it idolatry of the self. It's beyond insecurity. It's literally it's idolatry of the self. You literally equate yourself to God with this whole thing. I'm literally hearing people, like some of my detractors are talking about, if you disagree, you're disagreeing with God. I was like, yo, you're getting drunk off this thing, fam.
See, it goes back to what Paul said in Romans chapter 1. And I'm paraphrasing, that they have given credence or worship to the creation rather than the creator.
Facts.
So I mean, I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm just a laborer. I just work for a living. I'm just a worker and a part-time union guy. I mean, what do I know? I don't know nothing. I just labor for a living. Blue collar hustle. I'm not important. I just like to ask questions, and I even see that when you ask questions or you try to be critical, and you're not being critical to embarrass anyone, but we're supposed to at least critique and listen and ask questions. You will get scrutinized and attacked for that, or your blackness is questioned, or your manhood gets questioned. So it's just, and I think I've gotten to a point to where most individuals I just choose not to even associate with anymore, because I've seen the behavior patterns and it doesn't change. So for me personally, I just choose who I want to associate with and who I choose to build with. But with that, brother, we can keep going. Go ahead, bro. I just wanted to ask that question about insecurity. That was it.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, I know what it was to get into the game, and so like I doxed myself at the beginning of this whole thing. Like, so my real name is Tyvon Swain. That's my government name. Like, I don't I have one Facebook, I don't have multiple ones, right? Like, so my pictures on those are my real people's, man. Those are my real pics. Like I leave this stuff up with me and people of different skin tones, like so you can see it on purpose, right? It's not me hiding it; it's you seeing it, right? Um, I break down my history for people. I'm super upfront with my DNA and my genetics. Like you can see more about my DNA than any other Israelite out in the game, fam. I put all that stuff out in the public, so off the Eminem joint, you know everything that there is to say about me, fam. Like what else is there, man? Like you it like the now you got to catch me lying. You got to catch me being like dishonest and whatnot, and have fun with that because like my mother raised me better than that, fam. My father raised me better than that, right? They raised me in these scrolls and whatnot. They raised me with this book. They raised me with morals. They raised me with integrity, whatnot, right? And out of honoring them, you're not going to shake me from that, fam. That's my foundation, right? And so, again, on top of that, like building on that foundation, right? Like it's our responsibility to be the walking, talking ways of the Most High. Am I perfect? No, hell no. No. But I'm perfectible, and that's the whole point in this whole thing, right? But I can't get perfectible if I'm living in La La Land thinking the only thing I got to do is just stay black until I die, until the black Jesus cracked the sky and punishes all the white oppressors and whatnot. Because that's not what the scrolls say, fam. And to your point about history, like this is the part that killed me over the past like year and change dealing with the moderate community and whatnot, right? Was I'm sitting here like all the history that they're trying to twist to prove who they are, whatnot, they don't have to twist. There's actual real history to hold on to, whatnot, right? So the same people, for instance, who are fighting about like potential Arabic being on the pews in the church or whatnot, right? Are the same people who've literally gone and done their own research on the thing and like cooperated against themselves to where like you have Boubacar Diakite, who was a man from Mali who came down from PBS talking about the pews and whatnot, saying like he believed it was an Arabic type of writing, but it might not have been by Muslims. It could have been by Christians and whatnot, right? And what's interesting about that is what he said the writings were. When the Israelites who were coming against our perspective went and double checked on what the PBS people had said. He said, Boubacar Diakite said he found La ilaha illallah in the pews and then Muhammad Rasulullah in the pews. And again, it said, I believe this is the Shahada for people, right? But again, then said, I believe these could have still been by Christians, right? And what's interesting about it, I couldn't even explain this to the people, right? Because they wouldn't give me the time for this, right? But if you literally go into it, there's actual writings of the time of slavery about slave owners in the South and Christians in the South. I'm like, yeah, you know what? There was Muslims who it seemed like they were Muslims and they were kind of blending this Christian thing together. And it's like it was sounding weird. Like they were saying stuff like, well, Jesus is Muhammad and stuff like that, right? And that can't be right. But at the same point in time, if I go to Yemen, right? If I go to Ethiopia, them areas or whatnot, there were literally like there you can find Himyarite inscriptions or whatnot, right? Shout out to my man Red Judaism and Bay Abaddon and whatnot for making this known to the people and whatnot, right? There's Himyarite inscriptions talking about the Jewish people being with the praised one, right? The praised one being Muhammad and whatnot, and this is decades and decades and decades before the birth of Muhammad, right? The prophet, right? So they're talking about Muhammad as a name of the Messiah, as a way to reference the Messiah, right? And there's a way amongst Judeo-Arabic people, yeah, exactly, to where they're referring to the Messiah as Muhammad or whatnot, right? And so you literally have a man from Mali who's a Muslim, right? Who's saying, you know what, he's looking at the Shahada saying, you know what, that might not be from a Muslim, that might be from a Christian or whatnot, that might be from. And so when you understand the history of where he's from, right, there's literally a long history of Israelites and Christians being in the area that converted to Islam over time. But they came from, again, the Ethiopian Yemen area, whatnot. So this concept of Muhammad even being a name for like the praiseworthy or for an epithet for the Messiah, whatnot, even though it's in Arabic, again, even though it's in Arabic, a Muslim is saying, you know what, that might be by a Christian or a Jew, like because culturally I'm looking at it one way, but they might look at it another way, right? And so when you're talking about the history of our people and like how do they practice this and the third, that becomes super important when you find out things like this, right? Because if you don't know the history, oh no, that's just the Shahada, that's just that you're trying to make everybody an Ishmaelite, an Arab, and blah blah blah. No, bro, even the Muslim brother from Mali, the Bambara brother himself said, nope, that could be by a Christian. And again, there's cultural context for that.
So I did not know that. Wow. I guess you learn something every day.
Yes, stay tuned. There'll be a presentation coming out on Debate Talk for you soon about that, where I bring out all the sources and get into the weeds on that one, because that one's important for people to understand. Because we literally now have people who are looking at the pews from an Islamic point of view, who are recognizing that there's actual markings on the pews now, to where beforehand there weren't people looking at the pews on a scholastic level. So it's time to really bring this stuff out and whatnot. So you will definitely see that stuff coming out soon, I promise.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. But man, we over 2 hours. Is there anybody out there that would love to come up and build or ask a question? Anybody?
Because there's no fire in the hot seat right now, fam. Like, this is cool as ice right now. I gotta go change we gotta change the whole thumbnail to this joint. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. You know what I'm saying? I had the questions I asked, hoping it would provoke some fire. You get a spark coming, but I mean, man, goodness gracious. I don't know what to say.
No smoke from the Christians, no smoke from the Muslims, no smoke from the Israelites, man. Bet you tomorrow they're gonna be in the chat like, where was y'all at, man? Wish I was like, what happened? Go live again.
I don't know. Maybe it's this is another thing. Maybe it's because it's debate talk for you. You know, because this is the platform to where we tell people, if you're gonna come in with a disagreement, come correct at all times.
Right.
So Sal has this standard. Hey, I don't mind brothers and sisters disagreeing, but let's do it respectfully. And then when I'm noticing on various other platforms like Clubhouse and various other places, that the behavior is at a low. You know what I'm saying? To where the language is bad, the mannerisms are just out the window. So here on Debate Talk for You, we have a rule. Mr. Blacktastic, anyone who's been in the community the past couple of years know who they're referencing. So do you. Okay. So with that being said, on Debate Talk for You, come with it. We don't mind you coming with it, but be respectful. And I think my personal opinion, don't mean it's fact, but I mean it's right, but this is what I've noticed, is that since Debate Talk for You has that standard of having integrity and coming on here and bring your point out, and despite who opposes or who's for, we can still have a conversation or with two opposing views, and it can still be respectful. And the thing is that I have invited various brothers to come back to Debate Talk for You, and for some reason they won't do it. But when it comes to other platforms, they love the drama, they love the behavior, they love the action, they love to act a certain way. And maybe here on Debate Talk for You, they know they can't spread their wings. So that's why they fly everywhere else. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's what it is.
It's like the controversy is how they get their cash, right? Like, so I tell people all day, like, so unity costs, but division is profitable, right? And so, like, having a conversation here, like, it's going to be a building conversation. You know?
I was talking to my little one. My fault.
No, you good. So having a conversation here is going to be a constructive conversation, right? Like, so it's going to kill. Like, I was just listening to an old school bill this morning between Vocab and Divine Prospect, right? Where they're interviewing each other, trying to understand what they believe, right? That was ground.
Hey, that was classic. I remember I was listening to that one live, and I was I was working graveyard at the time, and I had woke up. I had my alarm set for that one because I was looking forward to that.
Right?
Man, I woke up. I listened to a good chunk of it, and I even listened to it on my way to work. But yeah, that was a good conversation. That was a good dialogue. Very interesting. It got kind of hot after, you know what I'm saying? Because a certain individual, I think Vocab, and this is just me just listening to it and just being the witness. I think Vocab didn't like the fact that Ryan did him the way he did him. If you ask me, my personal opinion, Ryan brought the work and gave it to him. That's just how I feel about it. I mean, that's what I heard, because I've always gone back and listened to it myself through the years, and I am convinced that Vocab. I mean, yeah, I think he did exceptionally well, but overall, I believe that Ryan pretty much put it on him, and I think Vocab personally didn't like the fact that an Israelite put it on him. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a lot of people who loved the fact that he actually got his that night. There's a whole bunch of people. I remember. It was crazy.
So shout out to Divine Prospect, because he was definitely a shift. Brothers like him, brothers like Zadok, etc., whatnot, and other brothers on the DT4U, whatnot. They were definitely a shift in terms of, like, they're not the regular Israelite, you know what I'm saying? And people had to start taking the arguments seriously and changing the way people talk to them, because they're looking at sources. They have methodology. They're not just yelling from a street corner or whatnot, right? They're actually doing research and whatnot. So shout out to brothers like him and Zadok, etc., for that shift in conscience and also making way for people like me and people coming behind me, etc., whatnot. Even the young cats like Ebri and the Yab gang and whatnot, in terms of it being palatable to be the Israelite with information and whatnot, right? Because beforehand, it's just been this thing like you what?
Yeah, there's a few individuals who have provoked me to step my game up when it comes to history.
And yourself and Ashanti and everybody for constantly just like for shrugging it off and sticking to the studies anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because now we're in the age of seeing a lot of stuff coming to fruition and whatnot, right? So where people are doing a lot of what you're talking about. Like, I want to build something to pass on to the next generation, something that's tangible, right? Now something they can be proud of, not ashamed of. Like, a lot of people right now, fam, like we're seeing a lot of people who grow up Israelite, right? And like, now I gotta walk away from this thing, bro. Like, this is crazy.
That's crazy, because I had a conversation with one of my elders. Me and Black Tasta talked about that. And that's something I have witnessed through the years myself, like people who were actually raised up in this, and then when they get to a certain age, they get ghosts. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm sitting up here like, why? And even me, for an example, my oldest daughter, she's now 18, getting ready to be 19 this year. And the thing about it is, she has been raised in this for a good portion of her life. And when it comes to Israelite men, when it just comes to the Israelite way of thinking, like when being around me and hearing various other individuals, she's fine with that. But what I've noticed from her, and this is things she's told me, when it comes to like brothers online, she may see out publicly and stuff like that, she is completely turned off. Matter of fact, she'll tell Israelite brothers, "You're wasting your time. I don't want your conversation. I'm not interested in your religion at all. Get away from me, please." And that's because she has seen and witnessed behaviors from certain videos. You know what I'm saying? And she's like, why is it that if we're supposed to be these people, we have this? Why is it that some of us have this type of demeanor and another group of individuals have a demeanor that is so superly, overly aggressive? And I was like, you know what, babe? It's unfortunate that we have that, but don't allow those few bad apples spoil it for you. You know what I'm saying? And even me as her father, and I tell her all the time, look, I didn't abuse you. I didn't make you feel some kind of way. Yeah, you probably didn't like certain things like, Christmas and Thanksgiving and stuff like that we were not doing anymore. You know what I'm saying? There were some things, of course, as a kid, you understood why we were not doing certain things. You know what I'm saying? But you get it, even to this day. The things that she was raised up with, she doesn't do. No, I mean she does them. I mean, she when it comes to the holidays, she does not observe them. When it comes to her diet, my oldest daughter is actually a vegetarian. I mean, damn near a vegan now. So when it comes to certain meats, she will not touch them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad, you know what I'm saying, that she was able to keep some things I taught her as a child. You know what I'm saying? But I think when it comes to certain behaviors towards women, that's what is alarming to her. That's what scares her. And she has heard so many stories on how so many sisters, because I keep trying to tell people, like, we're on social media, we're on these various platforms, we're always talking about we're so righteous. But what about the audience who's listening to us? We don't know what they have experienced in life concerning any type of sect or religious sect that comes out of the Bible. We don't know. Know what I'm saying? So not just my daughter, but various different people have been offended by various people who claim to come in the name of this God. So I've always told various brothers, it's best that we do not argue and humiliate each other publicly, because when we do that, we could be the last stand. We could be that last voice of reason to provoke people on their way out to stay. And we have to, like the brother just shared, I know about 3 sisters that have been abused by Israelites, unfortunately. See, that's what I'm saying. So when we're out here publicly, it's best that we keep our conduct in check. We keep it in check, because we don't want to say anything that's going to cause people to walk away from this God. And you don't want that type of blood in your hands when it comes to the day of judgment. Because it also says, if you offend one of these babes in my name, woe on you. Christ also says it's better for you to kill yourself. Not in those words, but that's exactly what he said. You're better off offing yourself. So we have to find ways to get along and find ways not to be drama kings and queens of Israel. You got to stop it, because it is a detriment and it puts a stain on the name of the Most High when we do these things. So how do we convince, because there's a lot of sisters who want to get involved in this, but they're scared that they're going to meet somebody in this faith who's going to abuse them or be mistreated.
So
go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's what you're finished.
Yeah, no, and I was just saying, so how do we go about that? How do we set a standard of showing that when it means to, because I've heard various stories, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is that I'm not innocent either. If there's things I've said I shouldn't have said, there's things I've done I shouldn't have done myself. So the thing is that how do we go about being a light to people instead of running them off? And because even a close beloved of mine said to me, she said from there was other people who notice her when she teaches or when she's speaking and she's out. They say, yeah, you're different from the rest of them. She said, why is it that most of them just want to argue and just have drama all the damn time?
Oh, that's that broke my heart, bro.
Yeah. And this is coming in the know, because I've heard it too. Yeah. This is coming from people who are on the outside looking in, who may be considering coming in.
Right.
But now all of a sudden they're like, well, hold on, man. It's something like I just do a whole bunch of yelling and screaming and fussing and cursing, and y'all don't like women. And I'm just like you associate with that, BA? Like, damn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is like literally like half the fight that me and mines have behind closed doors is like, it's like, yo, so literally like me and mines get together, like we met each other on like, we want to build stuff for people, right? We want to build stuff for the nation, the community, whatnot. And every time we go out to build, every single solitary time we go out to build, and someone stops like, oh, you're an Israelite? Like, yeah, what's up? Like, well, don't you believe this and don't you believe that? No, we don't believe none of that. No. So instead of going to build, we got to spend half our time explaining to people that we're trying to build with how we're not these other people over there, and we're not built. It's like, yo, this is crazy. And we run into the same thing every time. And it goes back to this concept of self-idolatry, right? Racism, self-idolatry, etc. Whenever you have that, misogyny is right there next to it, right? Why is that? Because you don't believe in the concept of equality. You don't believe in the concept of 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 relationships. You believe in the concept of I am above you. Period. Like you, you're not a person. You're property, etc. Like I'm above you. You serve me, etc. Like you see that same concept with the concept of racism in the sense for like, oh, these Gentiles are gonna come serve me, lick my boots, blah blah blah. That same concept, it's subjugation, right? This concept is subjugation. So there's no equality with the man and the woman, and they're literally missing all the beautiful stuff in terms of what the scrolls have to say about the roles between the man and the woman, the roles in the relationship, how the man's supposed to treat the woman, vice versa. Like literally, you got you got people sacrificing, like, and doing stuff like, let me work 7 years for my woman and whatnot. Oh, I gotta work another 7 for the one I actually want. Like them, like that, like so. No, that's an Israelite male, fam. Like that's a Hebrew male right there. Someone who has that type of work ethic, right, for their lady and whatnot. Not somebody out there doing what we see and whatnot, right? There's a concept in the scrolls talking about like if you're not right with your lady, your prayers can't get heard by the Most High in the scrolls. You know what I'm saying?
Oh boy, don't say that. You putting women over the brothers. Now look, brother, you better stop that now.
Hey, y'all can't show me a verse that says bros before hoes, bro. What you talking about? You can't show me that verse.
Now see, brother. Now see, hold on, brother. Don't do that, brother. No, I'm just mimicking what I hear.
Right. When I'm with it, right? Like, and then we're gonna go straight to Deborah, right? Like, so when Deborah was leading the nation during a time of war and whatnot, right? What brother was like, well, no, you're a female, we can't do what you we gotta wait till the man tells us to do something, right? Like, that's not how the nation was moving, fam. It says she was judging the nation, i.e., when she told them y'all messed up and did X, Y, Z, y'all gotta do X, Y, Z, they did the thing, fam. So I don't come from a misogynist nation. That was one of the things that drew me to the Moorish Science Temple of America. Is like, so in their situation, in their sheikh system, they were the first organization in our community that allowed, like, not the first, but like in terms of like the so-called conscious community, right? That allowed for women to comprise the same leadership roles that men comprise. So you could have female sheiks and male sheiks and whatnot, right? And I saw the same concept in the nation of Israel. It's where like you had a prophetess leading the nation, you got a prophet leading the nation. I could see this happening and whatnot, right? You're gonna go say something real quick?
No, I was gonna say, you see, I mean, I have no issue with what you're saying, but you see, when we say that they allowed women to have leadership roles, these are human beings. You see my point, though?
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? These are human beings. We're domesticating a human being like they're an animal. And I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying that at all. Just the way how, because one brother said that to me too one time. He said, you see how you said you allow women? I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize I said that. So, and I like to be corrected like that. If there's something I say, and it's not to correct you either, but it's just, you know how we say certain things and we may not be aware of what we're saying until it's pointed out to us. But keep going, brother. That's all.
No, yeah, no, hear all that. But again, like, so the concept is that so they could comprise the same positions that the males comprise and whatnot. And in fact, did so in a majority role at certain points and whatnot, right? And that's how you see our nation running and whatnot. You don't. It's I see people trying to make it a certain way, and you got to be. I swear, people want to act like their book don't contain certain books, and I'm like, I can't do that with people no more. I'm too grown. We're too grown for this to play this game of dress up, fam. We can't do it. We gotta talk based upon what the book actually says, and the book's not saying the stuff that these people are talking about, right? And again, when it comes to misogyny and when it comes to supremacy, right? And so the subjugation, subjugation scripture is not the one that I got. That's not the one that I got. I don't know what y'all got, but that's not the one that I got, right? I'm not a feminist. I'm not a. As a matter of fact, like if you hear me talk, I got a lot to say about the rights of the father in a lot of situations, right? But I will say this: there is a biblical role for that women fulfill. There's a biblical role that men fulfill. There's a biblical role that the children fulfill. All that type of stuff, and it's not one to where, as far as I see it, to where one's above the other, right? It's that they all rely upon each other to get the thing done, right? They all have things that one does that the other one can't do, vice versa, etc. Right? And at the end of the day, they're all still individually responsible for their relationship with the Most High and whatnot, right? So it's even if you want to talk about the concept of the man being the head of the household, I don't even have an issue with that, right? I don't take issue with that whatsoever. Whatnot. There's ways that I read the scrolls to where that head of the household means like being the shield thereof, right? Like you're the lead, you're the first line of defense for the household, right? That's one way to read the thing, right? And I don't think a lot of the men that your daughter will be talking about, right, are looking at things in that manner or whatever, right? For them, it's more of like it's your role is just to do what I say, and that's not how it gets down or whatnot in any way, shape, or form. That's why I pointed out that one about like if you're not in tune with what your woman needs, fam, you can't even go to the Most High in prayer like that. And so we need to like something I talk about all day is slowing down, right? Is slowing down to see what these scrolls actually say. And so that's something I'm akin to doing all the time because I compare and contrast scriptures from the Bible and the Torah and the Quran circles all the time. When I sit down and study scriptures, it's at least 3 or 4 texts, at least. And I'm trying to find the same thing in all of them every time. It's trying to see how they correlate and all that type of stuff, right? And when you study it like that, fam, you're not going to see this level of misogyny that a lot of these brothers are acting with and whatnot. And it's again, most of these cats, you can't pull it from the scriptures, fam. You got to do all kind of hopscotch to make it work, and it's not working. And you're definitely not going to get on the clock and debate the thing, fam. That's what I really know about you, fam. You're not going to do that because if you do that, some of this stuff, like I swear, like people inherently know that they're full of BS, and they know when they run into somebody who's not, and like you know what, like some parts is like let's not do that, just so we don't embarrass ourselves. But they still want to hold on to the nonsense beliefs and whatnot, right? And that's where I can't hold. Like I used to hold a lot of space for people who were ignorant about what they didn't know. But when you know that you're off on something and you're running with it anyway, and you're still holding on to that thing and whatnot, and people are following you, nah, but that's a problem. That's the big, and that's where you run it. Like you run into these groups that your daughter's talking about, right? Because lack of accountability is part of the fabric of their environment. I'll say that one more time. Lack of accountability is part of the fabric of their environment. What woman would want that? What woman should want that? What woman is wired to want lack of accountability in a man?
That's you pose something out there, man. I mean, but again, for those who are listening, this is debate talk for you. The hot seat with the boy Orthodox Moor. If there's anybody that would like to come on the panel and tap in and build with us, the link is in the chat. If you have any questions or comments or observations, please holler at us and let us know what's good. Orthodox Moor is here to serve the community and to answer the questions, whatever questions or comments or observations that you want to put out there.
Yeah, I'm with it with Ashley right here. She says, I think people should study the Hebrew more as it pertains to women and their roles. I would 100% agree, sis. Because when you go into the Hebrew, like this is what I found like with the Quran, with the Arabic and whatnot. Like, oh, English is cool, but no, let me go into the actual to the language and find out what it's saying. Oh no, the Hebrew makes it's a whole nother ballgame.
Oh, check this out. I have a lexicon, the Brown, Drivers, and Briggs.
Facts.
And I like to look up words. For some reason, I'll get told that's a bad thing to do. That's a bad thing to do. But these
How
are
dare
Hebrew
you
Israelites who
understand what
tell
you
me
read?
this stuff. No, these are Hebrews who tell me this stuff. Oh, I don't need no Hebrew, but I'm a Hebrew Israelite. I'm like, well, I know not you no more. But there's a word in Hebrew for female. It means the word is naquibar. Naquibar means to be punctured. It also means to be wise, to have discernment, to be keen, to be sagacious. This is what the Hebrew says about the female. And then the Hebrew word for male is zakar. It means to provoke, to remind, the point, right? The female means to be punctured. Use your imagination. Don't have to go any further. But as you can see, both of these functions from a Hebraic perspective are acts of submission. When a man pursues a woman, he is submitting himself. He is showing that he is worthy of a woman to submit to him. And when a woman receives him, or when she allows herself to be punctured from the point, the sakar, she is fully submitted. This is in the Hebrew. When I bring this up, people do not want to deal with it. They said I make it up. Oh, you made that up. What do you mean I made it up? It's right here. It's in the, hold on, wait a minute. This just, I'm telling you, what Trash House? Oh gosh, there's so many scholars on Trash House. It's not even funny. These individuals, I tell you, I ain't got to say no names because me and you have been in rooms together, and I'm just like, what did he say?
Right.
For real. So when you bring this stuff out, and these people are talking about, and then some of these individuals will tell you, well, I know the Hebrew language. I bring up stuff like this. They don't have a blue in the hell clue what that is. Like, hold on, brother. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Hold on. I thought you knew the Hebrew language. But brother, look, I don't know how much time you have, but you want to close it up or you want to keep going?
I'm gonna let that one be up to you because I heard the family in the background. So you know what I'm saying. Like if you gotta close it down, we can definitely do that. You know what I'm saying. I really thought, like, y'all gonna say, I told BA before this, like bring your hard hat and your lunch pail because it's most likely gonna be the longest, you know what I'm saying, hot seat in the history of the game. We're probably gonna get everyone coming through asking questions like about Islam and Christianity and like none of that, fam. Like, so yeah, we can do whatever you want to, bro.
Well, look. I mean, we could close it out, man. Because like I said, I know you got the family on deck, and you probably got to get back to them and chill and tap in with them and get that taken care of. I know what that means to have the family on deck because I got my kids as well. So I definitely know what that looks like. So, but before we go, is there anything you would like to say before we close out? The floor is yours.
It is open season on all suckheads.
Blade.
We're doing that one right now. Like, so just
the Blade, right?
If you're making merchandise, of the people, just understand me and mine are coming. We're coming for what you do, right? In a sense, to we're just gonna offer clean competition, right? So it's a clear glass of water versus a dirty glass of water, and we'll let the people drink what they want, right? But on top of that, like shout out to Sal for consistently providing a platform for over a decade, bro.
Over a decade.
Over a decade to where this platform.
not 5 minutes like these Johnny Come Latelys. A decade of consistent content. Debate Talk for You is the platform when they leave disgruntled. Then some of them will come back. Then they leave again because they want to tell Sal how to run his platform that he been running for a decade. Then this is crazy, man. But hey, much love to Sal Showtime, the best narrator, the only narrator, and the best host on the internet. The rest of them, I don't know you, but go ahead, bro.
Yeah, so real quick, I want to give a shout out to my peoples and give them some shine. So if you haven't heard of my peoples, please go check them out. If you haven't heard of Anonymous Hebrew, please go check out Unapologetically Israel. If you haven't heard of my man Elder Yara, go check him out at the New Torah Movement, Elder Yara. If you have not heard of my peoples in the Yap Gang, go check out Yap Gang Scholarship. Go check out my man Ibri at the Hebrew of Israel. Go check out Sister Shari Anaya. Go check out my man Yeshub over at Genesis 49ers. Go check out my man Ru Ibn Haddad at his channel. Check me out at the Orthodox Moor. Like, I really shout myself out and whatnot, right? But like, stay tuned for these brothers and sisters and whatnot, and other people like them. Like, stay tuned for what's coming out on Debate Talk for you. I'm seeing a lot of good content coming through. Like, y'all gotta start putting up the full shows instead of the clips, though. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be getting
the sister Christine on Let's Talk It Out podcast. She has a channel, but see, she just shares the clips from her channel on Debate Talk for you, because you know what I'm saying. So so we go live. Sister Christine, she goes live on Sundays, and that's a whole nother beautiful platform. I love Sister Christine. She's doing some dope work, and she's actually coming with content to talk about. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm listening to everybody else. I'm sitting up here like, man, this stuff sounds regurgitated over the last 5-6 years. Same stuff. But what the sister Christine is bringing to the table, we're actually having organic conversation. And everything ain't got to be necessarily who Israel is. We already know who Israel is. Why do we have to keep hearing that for? Can we hear something else? So, and that's another reason why Sal brought her on, because he wanted to hear something new. He wanted to hear something different. And we want to bring something to the table that's different. The same old stuff is not doing it, people. Right. Step the game up. Seriously, step it up, please. Do something.
100%, because there's a lot of real life happening that these conversations aren't addressing and whatnot. And so I heard some of the stuff that y'all were talking about. I was like, yeah, I likes this. So y'all definitely might see me stocking the chat on Sunday to see what's popping and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? 100%. But yeah, again, shout out to Sal and shout out to everybody involved in the conversations you're talking about. Shout out to Zadok. Shout out to Reese. I didn't catch. I don't know everyone else that was on the panel or not, but I'm glad to see Reese on the panel again one more time, because Reese got a lot of good stuff to say, a lot of information and whatnot.
Yeah, Reese. That's an interesting character.
Yeah, 100%. No, 1,000,000%.
Yeah, well, I know Reese pretty well, man. Most definitely has a very interesting take. I mean, Reese, I definitely can appreciate that sister. Even though she has a different point of view, but I've learned to respect those who have something that's different from what I believe. It's good to listen and just hear people out and be willing to just listen. You don't have to listen to like it. Just listen and pay attention. You may learn something. You may learn something. My boy Brooklyn be saying, you may learn something. You may learn something. But go ahead, bro. We can close it out.
Yeah, we can close out right here. Like, I'll just say this in this last piece. Like, so stay tuned for what me moms are bringing out or whatnot. Stay tuned for what's coming out on the Debate Talk for You channel and whatnot. And definitely stay tuned for the compare and contrast in terms of what you've been hearing to what you will be hearing, because a lot of me and mine have been holding back, trying to lead horses to water for a long time. And we found out the hard way, once we get in there, we can't force them to drink, that they don't want to drink. You know what I'm saying? Like, that they want to do everything but drink. So instead of trying to slow walk other people, we're just going to give the water out to everybody for free. You know what I'm saying? So if you're thirsty, drink.
And with that, like a mummy, it's a wrap. We out.
Yes, sir.